All right. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, 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 hello. What's going on? What's going on? What is going on, everybody? Hello, hello. One second. Let me catch up on a couple things. One late point. Okay. Go ahead and crack a beer. I don't have a beer. I do have a Dr. Pepper. All right. We can do one late point. All right, let me pull up everything I need for this. Let me put up all the needed items. Hold on a second. The hell? Oh my god. Yeah, let me catch up on supers in the meantime. First off, let's get the stream likes up to... Oh, you know what? That's what I'm missing. Something felt off about the display. I just haven't pulled it up yet. Okay. All right, there we go. That's better, much better. All right. Tip tier Treviso, thanks for 2. Team just Blackbeard and off-screen hockey is enough. Yeah. Hey, maybe that'll work. End of story. We don't know. Maybe that's the answer. I have not decided yet, and I'll give you guys the point. Give me a second. I have not decided yet if the idea for this stream is going to be, how do I say this? If the idea is going to be we pick or we do the wheel. I personally love doing the wheel. You know what I mean? Like where we roll the wheel to see how we do. But the tricky thing with this situation is situation is here. Let me do the late points real quick. All right. Yeah. With this situation, the tricky thing, I keep repeating myself, is simply that, how do I say this? It might be too hard to do it without the wheel. Or with the wheel. It might be too hard to do it with the wheel. Parvision, what's up? That's how Morge gets the lady. One look in the raid fails. Boom, bam, pow. That's funny. What's smizing? Okay, I think I missed some comments from Parvision. What's up, man? It's good to see you. Gobble these nuts, thanks for the 2. Is your hairdo a late penalty? Wait, what? No, my hair looks good. Oh, no, it's actually... It's a little puffy right now. It is what it is. Yeah, it's always fun spinning wheels. So that's the tricky thing with this situation. How to explain this? Let's get the stream likes up to 50 real quick. So the conundrum that we're faced with is... The wheel is more fun, but I don't know if we can win with the wheel, you know? Okay, so to be fair, in the past, we've... No. We can win with the wheel. We can win with the wheel. The problem is... Okay, so in the past, what we've done with the wheel concept, for those of you who don't know, let's say we do the wheel, and it's like, pick a character, or like build a character to beat Loki, right? So this time around, we're not doing a character. We're building a squad. Okay? You're always smiling with your eyes? What does that mean? Yeah, there's 2 ways that we can do it. More rocking the Kuwabara look. Let me try short, because now you guys are making me self-conscious a little bit. You know what? No, it's okay. It looks good. It looks good. It looks good. Nah, a little poofy. Oh my god. You know what? It's whatever it lands on is what it is. We're rolling with this. The tricky thing is so okay, we've got a few options here. I like the idea of building a party. If we build a party, that means that what we need is basically I want to do it kind of like pick a knight, pick a hero, pick a tank, pick a mage type thing. Just because otherwise we're just rolling the wheel a few times to pick characters, right? Pick a healer, so that's fun. But the other option is build a character, so we can do that. So we have the build a character option, or we have the build a team option. Either one works, really, right? There's nothing stopping us from doing that. Tom, thanks to 2. Char isn't annoying. Why you hate kids? Carrot isn't annoying. Why you hate kids? Now I'm confused. Now I'm very confused. What? Do we want to do build a character, or do we want to do is the party limited to performing only their assigned role? No, that would make it too hard. Building a team should in theory be better than building a character, right? Monkey with stick, thanks to 2. Add 4-hour stream as punishment. I like long streams. Sure, that's a fun punishment. Here, I'll add that. Here, I'll add all day stream as a punishment. That could be fun. Here, look at this. How about this? That could actually be fun. I'll do half a day, 6-hour stream or something like that, or something, right? So right now can we cut this one? Because this is contingent on other people. How about we cut this one and I instead do like day-long stream, or I don't think I could actually do a day-long stream. I'm not cut out for that. I could do like a 6-hour stream or something. Does that sound good? How do we feel about that? Team is lame. Team is more fun. How about we do both? I feel like 2 people is enough. I mean, right now we're watching Loki get like arguably low diffed. And Loki's kind of where it tops out strength-wise. So if, like, what's the other person you're thinking of? I mean, if we land, like, fucking Joy Boy or something, then that'd be fun. Then sure. Then maybe you just need one person. But beyond that, I'm like, Loki and who? I guess Loki and Blackbeard. I want to remove Blackbeard from the options because it's kind of, we've done this before. Hold on, let's figure this out first. Keep the collab? Fine, we can keep the collab, but we can keep the collab here. I'll say 6-hour stream. Here, we'll just add it as an option. All right. Should I say 6-hour stream or 5-hour stream? It would if I did that, it would be like what? I'll do a 5-hour stream, right? What can I realistically do? 5-hour stream. Because a lot of my streams naturally end up around 3 hours. It's usually somewhere between 2 to 3 hours, right? So, this wouldn't be like too different. 5-hour stream. It would essentially be double the length of a usual stream. That's what we're looking at. Let's get the stream likes up to 50 real quick. Monkey with stick, thanks to 2. Oh no, we did this. Kakashi Snitch 919, thanks to the 5. Hey Morge, what are your opinions on solo leveling? I think it's overhated and personally enjoyed it more than Jujutsu Kaisen. I fucking love solo leveling. No joke, unironically, one of my favorite series of all time. Solo leveling is so fun. Solo leveling is great. It is basically, it kind of distills what I want out of anime and manga. How to explain this? Obviously, good character writing and themes and plot, etc. is really good for anime and manga as well, right? But a large part of why I like this medium is also just to see powers, hands being thrown, cool fights, and just enough like stakes and tension, and like I think Solo Leveling hits the perfect amount of like you don't want just fights, because if you have just fights, then you have no reason to care. Then it's just pretty colors, right? But you like at sometimes I'd want to just be able to get through anime and manga without like fucking backstories and crying about my childhood friend, rival, love interest, all of those things, whatever, every 5 minutes, or my sad parents or whatever, or how I was bullied in school. Sometimes I just don't want that every fight, right? Sometimes I just want the fight to be the fight. Solo Leveling is basically distills a lot of the cool aspects of anime and manga into the simplest formula that you can do for it, while still having just enough setup to the battles that you care somewhat. Not like deeply emotionally care, but it's like, okay, it's going to be cool to see him come save Korea or whatever in the Jeju Island raid or whatever, right? You know, it's going to be like it just enough to make it satisfying, because you need a little bit of that stuff to make it actually satisfying and make you care when the main character achieves stuff, but not so much that like I can't just turn my brain off and enjoy, you know? So Solo Leveling is, to me, it's I definitely have it way above Jujutsu Kaisen for me, personally. In terms of how I enjoy it. In terms of what's a better series, I think Jujutsu Kaisen's a better series. But just in terms of what I enjoy, I think Solo Leveling is much higher in my... I haven't really done a top 5 or whatever, but Solo Leveling is unironically one of like my top handful of favorite series to watch. If you're like, what's the best series? I wouldn't put Solo Leveling on there, but it's so much. It scratches a certain itch for anime and manga that more efficiently than any other series to me. And I just think it's so dumb when people like talk about Solo Leveling being overrated or over whatever, because it's like, it's not. Everyone knows what it is. It's just, you just enjoy it, you know? Everyone understands, like, nobody's like, oh my god, this is like the next great literary work of our times or something, you know? It's kind of like criticizing Solo Leveling is basically like, I've used this analogy all the time. It's like critiquing John Wick for not having enough depth. It's like, no fucking, like, you're fucking stupid if you come at Solo Leveling for lacking depth. It's not supposed to. It just, it fulfills the same exact thing. It's like the John Wick of anime and manga. That's pretty much it. Yeah, only pretentious fucks shit on Solo Leveling. Well, it just scratches the anime manga itch very efficiently. That's all. It's just all you really need. Power Vision says every Korean MC. I don't care enough about other Korean stuff all I know is what I know, you know? I just know Solo Leveling. I'm not interested in getting into the rest. Obsidian Angel, thanks for the 10. Man, I'll get this over with so we can do the top 3,572 ships. Emu versus Luffy, Loki, Dragon, Tilestone. Tilestone would be helpful. Isn't Jinwoo just Korean Kirito? Like, every protagonist looked like Kirito after Sword Art Online came out? They're not even, like, remotely similar characters. Kirito is, like, a soft little kid at the end of it, masquerading as a badass. Jinwoo's actually develops into a badass character over time. He's also a lot smarter, more logical, and strategic, just because it plays to the fantasy. But the biggest thing, so, like, Sword Art Online's a great example. Sword Art Online was a really cool concept, and then it got bogged down by, like, the cringiest emotional shonen anime. It threw its whole concept out of the window. It's like, okay, well, what if we could have something like that, but just keep it to the cool stuff, keep it to the fun stuff, you know? Char, oh, Tom, thanks for the 5. Char is the kid from Kagurabachi. That was so far back. You guys saw there's a Kagurabachi teaser that came out? I'm very excited. The animation looks like it's going to be great. But the one line of dialogue that they used for it is the cringy, it's the stuff that gives Kagurabachi that reputation for being too edgy or whatever. I'm like, you could use a better line of dialogue than that about revenge or whatever. Charge, the kid from Kagurabachi. Yeah, I forgot. It's the character from like towards the very beginning at the time that I thought that I was gonna hate this series. How about you in chat? Theory craft a team while I make a wheel format for us to build a character after. No, that's okay. I can make the wheel format. It's all good, man. Because that one takes like 10 seconds, so that's all good. I just gotta remember the site. I always forget what the site is. Henchme987, thanks for the 5. If Buggy attacks citizens in Shanks' territory, would Shanks take him out? I feel sometimes like Shanks is a simping Naruto to Buggy Sasuke. If Buggy attacks citizens in Shanks' territory, would Shanks take him out? I think so. I definitely think so. I feel sometimes like Shanks is a simping Naruto to Buggy Sasuke. No, I think Shanks would take Buggy out if he was attacking citizens. I definitely think so. Tiptia, thanks to 2. Comparing John Wick to Soul Leveling is insulting. I mean, I think Soul Leveling's a lot better than John Wick. Like, Sung Jin-woo I actually enjoy as a character, even if he's like a power fantasy character. John Wick, I never really care about the character, right? It really is more so the excuse for the action. And then if you want to compare which one has a dumber plot, John Wick just objectively has a dumber plot over time. You guys remember the scene in John Wick where, like, it's revealed that... No, slowly over the course of the series, it essentially becomes clear that about 70 to 80% of the world is assassins, and only about 20% are, like, normal people. You know? John Wick, obviously fantastic for the action and set pieces, but then Soul Leveling, great for that as well. What are people freaking out about with it? That's not what John Wick is good for action only. It's not good for anything else. It's action, some degree of power fantasy. Soul Leveling also action, power fantasy, but I enjoy aspects of Soul Leveling better. More interesting plot for sure. John Wick had zero effort put into the plot, and then Soul Leveling has at least some effort. And then Sung Jin-woo more of a character than John Wick. John Wick's basically like if you just don't have a character. Tiptia 6, stop talking. I lose more of my respect for you every second. Dude, drop an argument then. You're just freaking out. You're losing your mind over nothing. Just drop an argument for why you... What's the strong difference you see? John Wick League's better than Soul Leveling? I would love to see people put arguments. What is the strength? What's the difference? Soul Leveling isn't good for anything other than action either. If you want power fantasy, Soul Leveling's, I think, the best you get for power fantasy. Both of them, main thing is action, cool moments, action, set pieces. But then if you want to get into the nitty gritty, if you want to call that a wash and a tie, characters, Soul Leveling better. Plot, Soul Leveling better. That's pretty much all it is, you know? John Wick's basically like, what we've just had no plot, you know? Or dumb plot. Everybody's an assassin. It's like, okay. Soul Leveling is just Korean Jujutsu Kaisen carried by hype. No, Jujutsu Kaisen is a better series than Soul Leveling. Like, it does actually try to do things with its overall cast of characters, its overarching plot, themes, yada yada. Soul Leveling just does that as like a, to have something. In that case, Jujutsu Kaisen clears Soul Leveling and John Wick. Yeah, sure. I said that from the beginning. I'm gonna be honest. The amount of complaining in the comments right now about talking up Soul Leveling is just cringe. You are not smart or intelligent for saying like I actually think Soul Leveling's overrated. It's one of those things where it's like it's such a basic grade 1 take to be like, yeah, Soul Leveling's not that deep, that it's just like you're not impressing anybody. You just come across as pretentious and taking things too seriously, you know? It's good for what it does in a John Wick sort of way. And then if you're actually trying to make the argument that like, no, John Wick is like this sacred piece of like cinema or something like that, okay, now you're just being dumb. For like you're going so far in trying to defend your Solo Leveling take that you're just outing yourself as a dunce because you're trying to act like there's some sort of significant difference between the concept of John Wick versus Solo Leveling. No, it's the same thing. They scratch the same itch, do essentially the same thing. If anything, John Wick is probably somewhat dumber and more shallow. Like, this is just, I don't understand the like this is just like, I think basically shitting on solo leveling is cringe, is all I'll say. If somebody's going around saying like solo leveling is really deep and has all of this yada yada literary merit or something, then that's one thing, but nobody says that, so you're kind of missing the point when people say they enjoy solo leveling. Elias Taveras, thanks for the 5. What's the point of Loki? All strides take a back seat, makes villains have crazy power creep, and undermines Kaido victory. I mean, I don't know. If I were to say the point of Loki, here's my little theory as to the point of Loki. I think Oda always liked the idea of Luffy having a sort of Whitebeard-esque rival figure, right? I think Oda always liked that idea, but I think Oda didn't like the idea of it actually being an ongoing sort of character to focus on alongside Luffy. Oda generally doesn't like that, right? So if you look throughout the story, One Piece is really good in terms of its world building, like cutting around to different characters and stuff. But for the most part, Oda kind of just likes to focus on the Straw Hats, right? How to explain this? Because people are going to be like, no, Morge, it's been super not Straw Hat focused in the post-time skip. Oda likes to focus on the Straw Hats storyline. Okay, so the island the Straw Hats are on, their adventure is the main focus, and then cutting the outside stuff is very rare. It's only recently in the final saga really become very common that now we can expect, okay, we're going to cut away to Reverie for, 5-6 chapters or whatever to see what went down with Saba and the Gorosei. Or we're going to cut over to Hachinosu to get like a full extended segment there. That's really not common, right? So with the way Oda writes the story throughout from start to finish, right? Our focus has generally always been where Luffy and company are, right? Where Luffy and company are, those islands, that's what we focus on. Then in between some arcs, we get to see what's going on. Now, only very late in the game are we spreading out, okay? So that doesn't lend itself well to an ongoing rival story that other series like a Naruto might do, or like a Black Clover or whatever, right? It just doesn't lend itself well to have that sort of ongoing rival thing because, you're just not going to cut to their adventures that much. Like, put it this way, like, everybody thinks of Kobe as a very prominent character in One Piece, but since Kobe's introduction, like at the beginning, right, he's this rising star in the Marines, we've only cut back into Kobe's situation like a few times over the course of the story, right? Very beginning, we had Kobe. Then we cut back to him around, after Water 7, Enies Lobby, and Marineford, briefly. And then post-time skip, we got a glimpse of him in, like, chapter 903. And then after that, it wasn't until Egghead Island until we got more of Kobe, right? So the broader idea is basically, if Oda wanted to write a long-running rival for Luffy that can essentially be the equivalent of his Whitebeard, that's a lot of extra work that he would have to do over the course of One Piece, just use Kid as an example, right? The only reason Law has become such a prominent character in One Piece that we know so well out of the worst generation is because... Oh, God damn it. Is because Law... we have to get our sync repaired, and I'm somewhat worried that this might have just been the person for that, so we'll find out. I hope he calls back. Because Law ended up literally joining the crew's adventures, right? So we got to know Law really well. With Kid, Kid wasn't very effective as a rival, partly because we just didn't get to see him that much, because... we would cut over during Punk Hazard once to talk about Kid. Cut over after Dressrosa once to see Kid. It's just hard to... It wasn't until Wano that we actually got an arc with Kid involved, right? So the bottom line, it just is difficult to write a recurring sort of rival figure for Luffy for a long time, right? And I think Oda he's not even really pursuing like a rival angle with Luffy and Loki. I think it is meant to be more so, like a friendly dynamic, but still Loki's kind of the Whitebeard to Luffy. Like kind of Rocks had Herald, Roger had Whitebeard, Luffy is Loki, right? Luffy never really had any sort of figure like that in his story so far, so Loki seems like he is set to sort of fulfill that, okay? Now, with all that being said, right, and keep in mind, I think part of this is also just Oda's personal preferences. Oda really, really loved the idea of Vikings growing up, right? That was like one of his big inspirations. So we haven't actually really had like a prominent, true Viking character in the series. So Oda was always going to build up to that, and that character is always going to be very important. Yeah, so there's a few factors as to why Oda seems to want Luffy to have a sort of counterpart friendly figure, right? Why a Viking makes sense. Oda's been hyping Elbaf up for us forever, so he's kind of told us straight up from the very beginning of the Grand Line that there's going to be crazy strong warriors at Elbaf, and he made it clear that Elbaf's going to be a special island. He didn't tell us about Loki's existence, but he did enough that should make us expect that the Giants are going to have something really surprising to show us. So there's a lot of factors there. And then the last part is just that if Oda wanted Luffy to have this sort of rival figure, it's hard to carve out story time for them for an extended period of time, even throughout post-time skip, really. Therefore, it was probably just easiest for Oda to save Loki for towards the end of the story, final saga time. That's when Oda wants Loki to have to come into this role. So I don't know. That's my way of sort of rationalizing it, but I don't really have anything else to really justify it. You just can't you can't hype up Loki earlier in the story, right? You can't hype up Loki earlier in the story because then it's just like it takes away from things that are happening in the current day. Like, when in the Marineford and early post-time skip era, Yonko was kind of synonymous for us with like the strongest characters in the world. And that's effective because that's the period of time between Marineford and during the Versus 4 Emperor saga that the Yonko are like, you want to make the reader feel as invested as possible in the current storyline, right? So making the Yonko clearly the top dogs in the world makes Marineford so exciting, and that it makes the first several hundred chapters of post-time skip, where the story is entirely about getting to Kaido, and then subsequently also Big Mom, and taking on the Yonko, right? You don't want to complicate that with additional ideas like the Yonko are really strong, but also there's this one dude in Elbaf that's like maybe even stronger or something like that, right? Because then it's just that takes attention. It's also why I think Oda did not reveal how strong Imu was till he revealed Imu to us right before Wano, but he didn't establish that Imu's actually very powerful. He didn't even establish the Gorosair fighters. So if you go back to that period of time, lots of people don't even have Imu in their top 30s or anything like that. Oda only started revealing how strong Imu and the Gorosair are right after the Versus 4 Emperor saga ended, because now that we're transitioning to the final saga, now is a good time to kind of pull back the curtain and be like, okay, you thought Kaido and Big Mom were strong, there's even stronger beings out there, right? Like Imu, like presumably Loki, stuff like that, right? It's just natural sort of progression of the story. So there's a lot of reasons why Oda wouldn't want to reveal Loki too early, and then there's some reasons, narrative space-wise, why Oda wouldn't want to give Luffy a rival that's up and coming alongside him, So I think Oda's solution was just like, I'm going to give Luffy a counterpart Whitebeard type figure, but there's not really space to include him earlier, so I'm just going to fit him in towards the end and give him a big reveal and yada yada. And he's already really strong, Get the work out of the way. Julian Reed, thanks to 2. Soul Leveling fans cry when you don't take them serious, though. Lol. I don't think that's even true. Maybe a small minority, but I think that there's very few Soul Leveling fans that genuinely think that this is that this is like Berserk or some shit. Mad D Sun 300, thanks for the 10. How do you feel about people who can't internalize messages in fictional media? Example 1. One Piece has themes like racism is bad, and someone will then enjoy that, then say racist stuff towards Indians or gay people. Because that's not a literacy thing. That's not like I love when people say stuff like this, but because that's like saying let's forget even One Piece or series like complex series, right? Let's forget all that, okay? Let's go back to like basics, okay? What were the books that you guys were reading when you were 5, 6 years old, right? Fucking like we can go back to fucking Dr. Seuss, right? You could read like the most basic of basic stories and messaging, fucking Disney movies or whatever. They will all teach you simple things like don't be mean, don't cheat, don't steal, share with other people, right? Like this is it's got nothing to do with literacy. Everybody can watch a fucking Disney movie and come away with the same messaging, right? Like message, right? Like you can watch Hunchback of Notre Dame and come away and be like, okay, don't judge a book by its cover, don't judge by its appearance, and then go out and still do that, right? There is a world of, you see what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't matter how complex the work is, right? It doesn't matter if it's written by, like some great author or written by fucking Dr. Seuss, who's a great author or whatever, but like, you know what I mean? From fucking birth to adulthood, you can read and take in different works of fiction that teach you messages and fully understand the messaging of those stories, right? You can fully understand that and then not apply that to real life because it's not got anything to do with ability to understand the messages of the story, right? It's got nothing to do with that. It's literally just people are usually very just inherently bad at being able to view their own actions through an objective lens, and that applies to everybody. Myself, most of you guys in chat, it applies to everybody, right? So people are generally not good at applying. We are good to some degree, right? We're probably pretty good as far as as far as certain things because we are all internalizing a lot of those messages and, messages that we will say out loud to one another, like it's important not to cheat, it's important not to steal, etc., right? But the reality is that people don't perfectly follow all those messages, right? It's just the way that we are, right? Usually people have their own excuse for why it's okay to do it in 1 second, or they don't mentally check themselves if they're doing something that a story has told them not to do. You know what I mean? Like, there's, a gap between how well you can review and reflect on your own actions or judge your own actions versus what you just impulsively do or whatever, right? Because generally, most people are not constantly running all of their actions through a monitor of like, wait, is this like exactly morally correct? Is this perfectly right? Etc. Right? Ideally, we all would, but usually that's like a background process that is more prominent in some moments, less prominent in others. Does that make sense? Right? So like, that's all. It's not that people can't internalize messages in fictional media. It's just that like, if we all perfectly internalized all the messages from sorry, you said, how do you feel about people who can't internalize messages, right? It's not that there's a subset of people who can't. It's more like every person can't, right? Like if we all could perfectly internalize every message that stories tell us from childhood, then we'd have a society of perfect people, Tiptio thanks to 2. Law's roles got expanded due to Dressrosa's bloat. Law's roles got expanded due to Dressrosa's bloat. Yeah, but also just the fact that he's the only one of the supernova that actually became a companion piece character. Bonnie is the other one. But Bonnie never was the driver of a plot, right? I'd say Bonnie and Beige are the 2 others that actually became companion pieces, and so their roles were naturally bigger than the other supernovas. But the tricky thing with Bonnie and Beige is that neither of them were the true drivers of the plot. Beige was for a short second, right? Like, for probably, like, if you look at Dressrosa, I'd say probably around, like, there's a 20-chapter section where, like, Beige is kind of pushing the plan, like Law pushes the plan. Bonnie is always ultimately a companion piece of the Straughts, but she becomes an emotional focus in Egghead. Law really was the only side character to really come in and get like a Vivi-esque role, or arguably like a Momonosuke-esque role, where like the story bends to him and his agenda, where he's at the center of it, and they're going along with what his agenda is, and they sync agendas together. But ultimately, Law is he really is the main character for that section, right? And then you're right that a large part of it is also just because Punk Hazard and Dressrosa, that whole saga, became really, really long. Jillian Reed, thanks for the 5. Elbaf ends with the Yggdrasil burning an Emu's final attack before he has to return, starting Ragnarok and forcing the Giants to integrate after the war. That'd be really interesting to see. And then I feel like that could bring things full circle to Harold's efforts to try to make people more accepting of the Giants, stuff like that. Elias Tavares, thanks for the 5. How do you make sense of Luffy dying and getting his awakening? Makes no sense to me. Luffy dying and getting his awakening? I mean, I will always say that I love Gear 5th's... I loved Gear 5th's debut, but I hated Gear 5th's introduction because I just think as far as anime power-ups go, it's one of the worst ones that I've ever seen. Because anime power-ups usually work one of two ways. One, it's something that you train on the side. Usually power-ups in general are a product in anime of some sort of character writing that goes along with it. Gear 5 is the only one that I can think of that involves no character writing or growth for Luffy in the process. Does that make sense? So, a similar example would be, how do I say that? I mean, you can go through every anime and manga power-up that's, known as a good power-up, and there's some sort of, either it's through training, in which there's, a good character storyline behind them earning it, right? Or it's in the moment, in which case there's usually a really powerful sort of emotional trigger, right? Luffy's is the only one where he's just literally just taken out and then just flips a switch and then comes back with new powers, which I think is generally really bad. I think it sucks because you can even look in the Wano arc itself, and there's multiple examples of character writing being attached to the power-ups, right? Look at Robin's, right? She trained this Demonio Fleur ability, but it wasn't just, there's also writing, and the palm attack, right? And there's writing associated with both of those abilities. One from her time with the Revolutionaries, and the other from her desire to become stronger to protect the Strahds, right? Sanji with the raid suit, right? Even Zoro with the Mastering Conqueror's Haki. I think that's kind of messy writing that's not really congruent with Act 1, but there's still something there, right? With Luffy, this happens twice, but with both his Advanced Conqueror's Haki Awakening in Chapter 1010 and with Gear 5th, it's the same thing where Oda kind of skips the steps of, writing around his power-up. It's kind of just in Chapter 1010, he gets the power-up because, Kaido hits him hard in the head, and Luffy's, wakes up and is Eureka, now I got it. And that's fine because that was, earlier in the fight. But then with Gear 5th, it's, the same thing. Kaido hits him, Luffy wakes up with new powers. I generally don't like that. The closest thing that I can think of is in Bleach, Ichigo gets killed by... This is, so far back now, right? It's not a big spoiler. Ichigo gets killed by Ulquiorra, right? He gets killed by Ulquiorra far before Luffy's killed here, shot through the chest or whatever, right? And then the next scene is basically Orihime crying, Kurosaki-kun, Kurosaki-kun. She's crying for him to help her, whatever. It's a memed scene, but it does kick in the final sort of drive for Ichigo to protect no matter what, and the whole arc has been about Ichigo really, pushing against all odds to protect his friends no matter what. It's not, mind-blowing or that good, in my opinion, but there's at least something in that scene. It's kind of the culmination of what all of that's been leading towards, of Ichigo doing all this to protect his friends, and particularly Orihime, and her cries or whatever are ultimately what force him to awaken and tap into his hollow abilities in this next level transformation, okay? I don't even think that... I think it's a great fight. I think the scene is kind of generic or whatever, but I would take that a million times over if Ulquiorra just killed Ichigo, and then Ichigo just wakes up immediately 5 seconds later with new powers, and it, you skip the emotional part, right? The emotional part, even as basic and simple and, eye-rolling as it is, it still is something, you know? Whereas Gear 5 Awakening is kind of like if Oda just was like, let me just copy this scene, but remove any character effort whatsoever, you know, any of that. So I don't like that. I will never like how Oda did Gear 5's Awakening, especially because Oda's done so many better power-ups for Luffy that actually have so much writing around them, you know? So I will never like that. I'll personally never like that. Moman says, yep, but he got the training with Hyogoro for chapter 1010. Again, I'm not asking, like, did they technically train this or not, right? I'm just saying, like, was there any writing around it, you know? Any meaningful, was it meaningful for the character, you know? Ankle Rev 562, thanks for the 20, man. Now that we've seen Emu, I've been thinking about how weird the flower room is. Do you think it's merely evocative imagery, Snake and Garden of Eden, or is there a narrative reason? Place Lily betrayed him as an example. I personally right now think it's merely evocative imagery, but it'd be really cool if it turns out to be, and I agree, like Snake and Garden of Eden, that is a really good idea for that. I do think that it could be a cool narrative plot point. I mean, we already got the really good scene with Rocks and him. Place Lily betrayed him would be really cool. As far as we know, Lily might have betrayed him on the way to Marijua, because that's where her ship was stolen, or like before she left for Marijua, because that's where her ship was taken, but I don't know. Tip Trivia, thanks for the 2. Luffy's flaw writing, lack of introspective thought. So, yeah, that is a really good point by Tiptio, which is that Luffy is a black box, so usually can't get inside his head to know what he's thinking. But I think that's why a lot of Luffy's dialogue hits so hard, because when we do get an insight into, like, oh, Luffy's actually been internalizing some things that you wouldn't have expected and has come to some conclusions, that's really good. So, like, Gear 2nd, you know, he debuts it in a scene with Bluno that's a really good scene, which is he basically gives the speech to Bluno about how he's, like, realized ever since the battle with Aokiji that he needs to do better, and he needs to do more. He needs to become a lot stronger and more capable if he's going to protect his crewmates, because he acknowledges that he has crewmates who are not as strong as him, therefore he's got to become stronger than anyone else. It is Luffy really coming into his own, recognizing his responsibilities as a captain, right? And then we get the Gear 2nd review, right? That's all. It's nothing crazy. Like, I'm not saying that we need, like but that kind of just goes to show, you know, it's not the most complicated thing in the world. Or even just, like, one arc back. Just go to Whole Cake Island, right? Luffy gets a power-up in the middle of that battle, which is he learns Future Sight in that battle. Just compare the writing around Luffy learning Future Sight slowly over the course of that fight. It was a uphill, like, it was a full story from start to finish. Like, first Luffy being outclassed, then Luffy taking the break, Luffy thinking about how, like, I'm outclassed by this guy, I could run away, but I don't want to do that anymore. I want to surpass him, and I want to surpass him by picking up the thing that he's good at, right? Which is Future Sight. So then Luffy returning, right? Like, the struggle, the reflection, the return, then struggling even harder, but slowly making progress. And then finally the final stage of the battle where, like, we're getting the flashbacks to like, even if Luffy's not the smartest dude in the world, therefore observation haki might not seem like his thing, we're getting reminders on, you know, through the Rayleigh flashbacks of what Luffy is good at, observation-wise, which is that Luffy has a good intuition about people. And that's also been a strength of his that's been portrayed throughout the Whole Cake Island arc. And then that kind of comes together with how Luffy finally starts to tap into Future Sight better, in the sense that, like, this is the reason that Luffy is capable of progressing in observation haki, and it helps that it also improves the more that he gets to know Katakuri as a person, so it's syncing some ideas together. And then finally Luffy really does get Future Sight down, and then we just transition to the final phase of the fight where Luffy's going toe-to-toe with Katakuri finally, you know? So just, like, you can just go one arc back to see some, like, really good progression to a power-up. And Oda does have to work around Luffy's lack of introspection, but he generally has always worked around that really well, you know? Gear 5 was kind of the first time I was really like, well, Oda just skipped any sort of effort for this one. Ursula, thanks for the 5. Holy Land incident happened at the same time as Shaggy's. Maybe there is Celestial Dragon, a slave, ? Or they actually Shirahoshi, and the incident spread to Fishman Island. I really do think it's Shirahoshi. I really do think it's Shiroshi. I don't know if this lines up time-wise, but it might have been an attack by the Blackbeard pirates, because they got news from Caribou recently. Elias Taveras, thanks for the 5. I think Gear 5 has a spiritual theme of like laughing at your problems to make them smaller, but Luffy is serious for 5 pages max at a time, even with Usopp. Yeah, I want to see more. I'm curious how Gear 5 will function in the battle against Emu here. If Luffy's going to take it more seriously, because Luffy's stressed when we see him eating, you know? He's stressed the last that we see him eating. Kakashi Snitch 99, thanks for the 5. What are your thoughts on The Sopranos so far? Favorite character and favorite moment so far? I'm liking The Sopranos a lot. I'm in season 3. My favorite character, I think, so Tony's a great character. I think my favorite character might be Christopher Moltisanti. And my favorite episode, my favorite episode's easy. It's easy. It's the one, I think it's the season finale of season 2. Great episode. Really great episode. Really creatively filmed. I think probably from an era where they didn't used to get too ambitious with how they directed TV shows. I think that one was directed really, really well. And the final hit in that episode, or execution, whatever you want to call it, was done really well. I'm liking The Sopranos a lot. I find it slightly less... No, I do enjoy The Sopranos a lot. I think... How do I say this? I'm trying to compare it in my head to other series that I hold in a similar regard. Like, my few favorite series are probably Breaking Bad. I haven't seen Better Call Saul yet, so, you know. Breaking Bad, Mad Men, The Pit I've really enjoyed lately. And The Sopranos is joining that crowd for me. I think... with The Sopranos, there are... I don't know how to explain this. You know what it is? Okay, so it's similar to the... Okay, here's what I would say the simplest comparison I can give. Because The Sopranos and Mad Men they follow very similar skeletons, I've realized. Very, very similar skeletons in terms of what makes them click, okay? So, first and foremost is this, like... this somewhat morally gray male character that is the focal point, right? Yada yada. And you could argue that they represent different aspects of masculinity, whatever. And then the rest of the cast kind of revolves around them. But the juiciest parts of Mad Men to me were always the things that would happen in the office, right? So different inter-office politics, even just simple interactions between the coworkers in the office, the small bits of tension, the small little power plays or jabs or underlying currents, you know, those things were really, really enjoyable. And obviously some of the pitches or the showdowns with clients, those were great, right? And then Mad Men had this extended area of storytelling, which is basically going into the characters' personal lives away from the office. And that's when you see Don with his family, maybe some Sally Draper shit, maybe even like Betty, Bobby, Pete and his wife, Roger and his wives, you know, stuff like that, or Roger and his daughter. And those areas are generally not as interesting. Some of the scenes are very interesting, but those areas are generally not as interesting. But you need them to give weight to what happens in the office itself. So, like, to me, the office scenes are always the juicy stuff. External scenes were necessary, sometimes enjoyable, sometimes interesting to watch. But other times, I'm, like, watching a Betty Draper scene, and I'm, like, tapping my watch, you know? But it's necessary to make the whole thing click. Sopranos, I think, falls into a similar boat, where, for me, the most interesting parts of the Sopranos are when we're in the business, right? When we're in the business and Tony's dealing with something in the business. Even just scenes of Tony and the crew hanging out in the back room of the Bada Bing or whatever, talking about nothing. Those can be interesting. Those can be really interesting, juicy, stuff like that. You know, and then obviously stuff that's really interesting is like when the card game's going on, or like when Richie April's around, or they're planning moves against one another, right? So like everything to do with the business is really juicy. And then when we're away from that and dealing with more stuff like, okay, how's Meadow liking college? Shit like that. It's not as juicy for me. And but it's necessary to build the rest of the story and to make it, make the themes, ideas of each episode fit together and give weight behind, like, if Tony was just who we saw in the business sections, he wouldn't be an interesting character to follow, right? But there's times where, like, I'm just like, okay, we got to Carmela some bullshit right now, So it's similar in that regard. I get a similar sense I did with Mad Men. Christopher's my favorite character because I think he's the only character where, like, no matter what, even if Christopher's doing some shit that has nothing to fucking do with the business, if it's him pursuing his acting or screenwriting career, really the screenwriting career, I'm interested. Like, one of my favorite episodes of the whole Sopranos series was when Chris gets a little break in Hollywood for a little bit. So that's why Christopher's probably my favorite character, because no matter what Christopher's doing, I find it fun. With Tony, like, the millionth time that he gets into it with his sister over some bullshit about, like, what their mom's will or estate was, it's like, it can be a little bit circular for me. But overall, I love The Sopranos. And I understand, it's just that, like, I think a simple difference for me was, like, I remember with Breaking Bad, I think that's, like, the show that will probably always stay as my number one, because, like, just almost everything that happens in Breaking Bad, whether it's Walt's personal life or business life, I always find interesting. That's not to say Sopranos is not as good or better than Breaking Bad. You could definitely argue it's the best or whatever. This is just personal preferences. All right. Most of the clips I see are just Tony being a dick to his son. But see, stuff like that is good. It's hard to explain. Like, you need those clips. I like seeing Tony watch AJ be good at football for, like, one game and then be an asshole to him about it afterwards, about, like, hey, why are you trying to play the Nintendo? Go play your game or whatever. Like, or, like, go practice football or whatever, right? Or at least study football, That stuff's important, That stuff's important. It's just that the scenes that are really chewy, like, you can really, like, really juicy, that's almost never Tony with his arguing with Carmela or some shit, Almost never. Morge, have you seen The Boys? I've seen 2 seasons of The Boys. I think I just got tired after I saw 2 seasons and then some parts of season 3. I think I enjoyed like, my simplest way to put it with The Boys is I fucking hate The Boys. The Boys are boring. Everything goes in a fucking circle with The Boys. Like, the main cast, right? Huey, don't like him. Starlight, don't like her. Mother's Milk and Frenchie are, like, the most generic side character pieces you could ask for. The main character, Billy the Butcher, he's the only one that's somewhat entertaining, but I generally don't give a shit. Like, I think the writing for The Boys is very simple, generic when it comes to that group, and then when it comes to the Soups, it was always really, like, any scene that showed Soups and kind of, like, how they, like, how they interact in society or what they're like in secret or, like, scenes like that, obviously really, really, really fun. So those are always the fun scenes to me. And then every time they cut to The Boys, I was just like, these guys suck. I think season 1, I felt less of that. By season 2, I was just like, oh my God, I find myself falling asleep every time we're cutting to a scene with these guys, Yeah. I'm not saying The Boys is a bad show. I'm just saying that's, like, The Boys is I think it's a very well-made show. Great concept. Like, it's got some great, like, really cool scenes. One of the best TV villains ever in Homelander. Like, Homelander is an all-time great TV villain. All-time great TV villain. But just, I know that The Boys creators are upset, like, why do people like Homelander so much or whatever? Or I don't know if they're upset, but, like, there's a thing with, like, people idolize Homelander too much. It's not even necessarily, like, I think people idolize Homelander. It's just, generally for most people, the Homelander scenes are the most fun to watch by far. And so he becomes the favorite character, It's kind of like, what character do I perk up and, like, get invested in again every time is on screen? It's Homelander. Is it this fuckboy? Like, not fuckboy. Is it this fucking cardboard box Huey? No. Want to put it on mute every time that dude's on. Anyway. Yeah, it's not like people like everyone knows Homelander's the villain, you know? That's not like mind blowing, but it's just he's the most enjoyable character for most people to watch on screen, and therefore he's he's probably is the favorite character. There's a lot of series that are like that. Like it's just the way things are. Also, what was it? This reminds me in Game of Thrones, right? So Game of Thrones. I watched most of it in college because that's when it was coming out, and like my group of friends really loved it, right? So I remember in Game of Thrones, like the character that most people hated was Tywin, right? But me and one of my friends in the group, uh, like I think partly in backlash to other people hating Tywin, but also just because like Tywin was, in my opinion, Charles Dance was the best best actor in the show, the one who played Tywin. We would like just hype up Tywin every time he's on screen, partly just to annoy other people, but it was like you can't spell Tywin without win, or we'd just refer to him as the Dance. I wonder if this episode's gonna have the Dance in it. When he died, that was a tragedy. We're like, oh no, is it even worth watching Game of Thrones anymore without the Dance? All right, continuing on. Sorry about the other shows talk. Let's get the streamlights up to 100 real quick. Tiptio, thanks to the 2. I think Kaido not being awakened really hurt Gear 5. Dude, I sometimes wonder if that is a possibility that Kaido's going to come back. Because I'm just like, that's the simplest way Oda could have him come back, and have us feel like, oh, it makes sense why he wasn't awakened if he comes back awakened or something like that, Goat went downhill after Tywin died. That is true. It did go downhill after Tywin died. I think, but like, it did go downhill after Tywin died. But I'm not going to say it's specifically because we lost Tywin. It's more so because the show caught up to the books, right? But there was something to the fact that Tywin was a great central villain for the show in a way that Cersei was just never made to feel as competent. The High Sparrow dude, my least favorite character in the show. How there's some villains that are great villains because you also enjoy the character to some degree? That's like Tywin. You know how there's some villains that are great villains because you just really dislike them and you don't like anything about them? That's the High Sparrow for me. High Sparrow just irritated and got under my skin so much, but I guess I think he deserved way worse, but it is what it is. But anyway, the show kind of lost a central sort of villain figure, and then the only replacement that was really looming was the ice version of Tywin, which is the Night King, You know what I mean? Wasn't the Night King, doesn't he kind of feel like the ice version of Tywin? He didn't talk much like Tywin, but you just see him and it's like, yeah, that dude's kind of got like Tywin energy. He's just the icy Night King version of Tywin. And then he came and died right away. So that was sad. Did we start to build a team yet? No, we will start shortly. We'll start probably right now. New X722, thanks for the 5. Seemingly making money with a side gig I got, so wanted to support. Oh, thanks, man. And congrats on the side gig. That's awesome. Do you want to share what it is a little bit? Maybe, you never know. You can shout it out here. Without powerful, Emu is, Dragon better be a powerhouse or the revolutionaries are fucked. I think I have a little theory as to what Dragon's fruit is, but I'm not going to mention it here. The Morge has been yapping about Sopranos, The Boys, and Game of Thrones. High Sparrow was chill. No, the fuck he wasn't. Yeah. Joffrey was the best character to hate. Yeah, Joffrey was so easy to hate. So easy to hate. But I always complained about Joffrey's death because I thought it was too easy. And that's the thing. With characters who I really despise, I want to see them suffer for it. Like, go through some sort of... Like, Joffrey got off easy, Like, so many episodes and seasons of tormenting other people. He didn't really get tormented in his death. He just choked and died. Choked on poison or whatever and died, Like, that was frustrating for me. Obviously, that's sometimes... Game of Thrones is realistic. That's sometimes how just things go, but it is what it is. Dragon's fruit is silly guy fruit. Isn't that Luffy's? Or is he just a silly guy? Joffrey was great, and I felt for him also because he's still a child, and it's Cersei's fault. I don't think you can give the blame to Cersei for all that, because she had other kids that were fucking normal. You know? They were pretty good-ass kids as far as, like, being spoiled heirs to the throne are, you know? But if you say the inbreeding was a cause, then sure, I could go along with that. Can we get to agenda piece already? You're right. I'm delaying too much. I don't know. I get excited when we talk about other shows as well. Here we go. All right. Okay. Here is the general concept, all right? Tiptia thanks for the 2. Dragon is going to be the people's here to Blackbeard, not Emu. You think that Dragon's gonna be the one to take on Blackbeard rather than Emu? I don't know. Sopranos is really funny. Sopranos is really funny. It is really funny. It's at home and you make your own hours for the side gig. If you want to share, feel free to share. If you want to shout it out. If it's like a side business hustle, but if it's something else, then you can obviously keep it quiet. Here, I want to throw a little poll. Okay. Hold on. How well do people think Luffy will do against Emu? I did earlier. Oh, sorry. Didn't see it. Oh, AI configuration and evaluation. Ah, nice. That's cool. Yeah, how well will Luffy do against Emu next chapter? Hold on. Here. Dragon versus Blackbeard is random as fuck. So you say it's random, but it's actually happened already in the story a couple times. The Blackbeard pirates straight up ran Dragon out of town. Yeah. Dragon had to leave Baltigo and go to New Kama Island because the Blackbeard pirates attacked. They've had their skirmishes so far. Sabo versus Burgess and Dressrosa, which turned into the Blackbeard pirates attacking Baltigo. And now they might even have a clash with the whole siege thing going on, depending on what Blackbeard wants to do there. Okay. So nobody thinks that Luffy's going to just come in and... Or no, some people think that Luffy's going to come in and kick Emu's ass. I thought about it because, like, again, here, if we do a quick sort of... let's do a quick... Let's do a quick rundown of past events, right? So, Luffy's record against strong villains in round 1. Okay? So, I would, like, these against prominent, like, let's say prominent villains in round 1. Arlong. Whoops. That's a W, right? Crocodile. L. NL. NL is hard to place because, like, Luffy essentially kicks NL's ass, and then NL, like, NL gets out of the fight. You could argue, if you're being, like, really, really technical, you could argue that NL removed Luffy from the battlefield. But, like, if you're viewing it like just like a cage match, Luffy kicked NL's ass inside that cage, you know? NL just got him out of the cage. You could call it a win or a draw, you know? We could, you know what? Let's just say draw. It definitely feels like Luffy won that round, but NL kind of gets away with it, you know? Like, there's a big difference between, like, Luffy versus Crocodile round 1 versus Luffy versus NL round 1. Like, Luffy versus Crocodile is made to show... I guess my idea is, like, what's the intent behind the fight? Is it made to look... Like, is it so that Luffy looks really good? Or is it to show that the villain is a lot stronger than Luffy, right? So, like, Crocodile, it's clearly to show Luffy's getting the beatdown. Against NL, that's a fight where, like, Luffy kind of humiliates NL the first time and, like, shows NL that he's not all that. And NL kind of, like... That breaks it. This fight is more so to break NL's ego than anything, right? But NL still gets away with it. So let's just call it a draw. Then we got Lucci. Luffy gets an L. Then we got Moria. Again, I'd say it's like a draw. Luffy versus Moria round 1 is very inconclusive. Luffy's struggling against Moria. Then Luffy manages to get in a hit. Then Moria basically disengages and tricks Luffy. Very similar to the NL situation, right? Then we skip all of Sabaody Marine Ford. That's just... Luffy doesn't... That's just L's across the board, I guess. You know what I mean? Like, there aren't even... Literally, they're not even, like, opponents for Luffy. You know, they're kind of just characters that are meant to stomp him. I mean, we could put it down, but... You know... Is there a point to putting down Kizaru and the Pacifista and Sentomaru and, like, I don't know. We could just I don't really know what to... I just don't think we're necessarily... I don't know. How to, like... Axe Hand Morgan one-shots with the back of his axe hand. Luffy kind of just gets... He kind of just loses to everybody there and doesn't really... The best you could say is that he kind of gets a draw against Magellan towards the end, in a sense. Yeah, let's just skip it. Okay. Sets up 2 future ones, Blackbeard and Akainu. Yeah, you could argue that. I think let's just keep... For the sake of simplicity, right? Horty, Luffy wins right away. You know what? I'm going to remove Horty because Horty's not meant to be a strong villain. He's kind of supposed to be a fodder villain. You know? So it's not... I'm trying to go by... I guess what I'm saying is I'm trying to look at past tendencies by Oda to evaluate what he's going to do with Imu. There's no point in looking at Horty because Oda's obviously not going to treat Imu the way he treated Horty, right? I'm kind of saying like more so like what has Oda done so far with traditional strong enemies for Luffy? You know, like enemies who are meant to be strong, right? So let's say Doflamingo next. Doflamingo, Luffy took an L. Should we put in Caesar? Luffy did technically lose to Caesar also. I view the Caesar situation as similar to the NL situation. Like, Luffy kind of kicks Caesar's ass, and then he gets caught slacking with the gas fruit thing. Katakuri. I don't know if... Because Katakuri, you can break up the fights into rounds. It depends on how you choose to interpret it. You know? Because some people interpret it as like Luffy fought Katakuri, left, took a break, then came back for round 2. Some people count it all as one fight. Arlong throws Luffy into the water. That's true, but that's because Luffy gets himself stuck, you know? So it's kind of like Luffy's already fucked himself over. Akimura Soga greater than Imu. I'm excited. I wonder how far Kagurabachi's anime is going to go in the first season. Giving Caesar that credit is too much for me to do. Yeah, I kind of want to... Like, Caesar's not meant to be a strong villain, right? Don't include Katakuri. All right, so then Kaido's the next one. And then Kaido's the next one, and then that's an L, right? So, I mean, generally speaking, if we look at only the concept of, like, villains who are supposed to be strong in One Piece that Luffy's fighting for the first time, right? Like, big bad arc bosses, generally speaking, Oda has Luffy lose, right? He has Luffy lose. I think Arlong's the only exception, but that was East Blue, so it's already kind of like, do we count that? But there are times like NL or Moria where Oda will have Luffy lose, but not because Luffy got straight up outmatched, but rather because the villain pulled a trick on them. So I think that's the two categories where things could fall here, right? I don't predict Luffy just straight up defeating Emu. I don't think anybody thinks that Luffy's going to straight up defeat Emu this next chapter or two. But I guess my question is it going to be like a straight L, like Crocodile, like against Lucci, like against Doflamingo, like against Kaido? Or is it going to be a scenario where like Luffy actually shows out pretty well, but it's too early for the arc to end, and therefore Oda has the villain do some shenanigans to prevent Luffy from getting the win outright, you know? So that would be like an NL and Moria situation. I'm concerned because NL is a pretty strong direct parallel to Emu, but I'd say a difference is that Emu's supposed to be a much bigger deal in the story. Therefore, even if symbolically it's a similar thing in terms of like how much of an impact Emu's supposed to have in the story, it'd be closer to like a Crocodile or a Kaido or something like that, right? So it's hard to say. Luffy even keeping up with Emu break scaling? I personally agree, because I think that like you can get into like, oh, too much power scaling rots your brain or whatever, however you want, but straight up, like, Oda showed us last arc Luffy couldn't even deal with Warcury, right? Like last arc we were shown that even just one of Emu's subordinates, Luffy didn't really have an answer and he struggled and ran away. So it is, I don't think you have to be a power scaler to just be like, it would be really weird if Luffy was struggling like that with Warcury and is now doing really well against someone who is many times stronger than literally Warcury's boss, you know? For the record, I don't personally think that Luffy is necessarily weaker than Warcury. I will believe in Luffy enough that if he really put his mind to it, I feel like he could figure out a way, or maybe like do enough damage somehow with a stronger move or something. But the point being, he's not like clear of Warcury comfortably, you know? So it would be really weird if Luffy was just handling Emu in any capacity next chapter or two, right? It's the same way that, you know, we saw how Luffy did against Mr. 3. Therefore, when it's time to fight Crocodile, it makes sense Luffy should get fucked up, you know? It kind of the same way that applies to all of this, you know? If Luffy was kind of struggling against Katakuri, then he should just lose to Kaido, you know? It's not power scaling, it's just the basics of what Oda kind of established, right? More just Pinky Toe. Thanks to the two. They both run out of time and have to retreat. Yeah, I guess that falls into the draw category, and that's like the best case scenario for Luffy here. We're gonna learn that Emu's weak to Nika's powers, like Enel was weak to rubber. Yeah, so that's the one scenario in which I'd be like, okay, it's not a big deal because it's just a matchup problem, you know. Let's get stream likes up to 100 real quick. All right, let's build a team to beat Emu. Let's just assume that Luffy can't do it. Team to beat Emu. Okay, so there's two ways that we could do this, right? We can pick or we can do the wheel. All right? And if we pick, like if we do the wheel, the way I would like to do the wheel is this. I would like to do it like a party, all right? So we get characters who are the hero class, tank class, what else? Healer? But there's not a lot of healers, are there? Marco's a healer. Maybe we can't do healer. Maybe the party doesn't work. Let's apply it to One Piece terms. Let's do swordsman, devil fruit user, What are the categories here? What would be the categories, right? Swordsman, devil fruit user. Shit, stuff like sniper is kind of, it's just too disproportionate, right? There's not enough characters to fill certain slots. You know what? I'll say tank is just someone with a really good regen. No, does that make sense? How about that? How about that? Does that make sense? Okay, let's say Hockey Man. We get one Hockey Man, one Logia, one Zoan, one Paramecia. How about that? That sounds fun. I like that. I like that. I think that's a good deal. Is that fun? Like Garper shit. Yeah, the problem is like Doctor, there's just not enough. Chopper's the healer. Support can mean multiple things, doesn't have to be heals. Yeah, you know what? Okay, let's do that. Let's do that. Okay. Let's do fighter. Okay, fighter. Tank. Support. What else? Mage. All right? And we'll classify categories like this, okay? So, here, let's do it like this, okay? Should we do living characters only? Living characters only? Or let's do living characters only. No. Yeah. No. Fireman? I don't know about fireman. This isn't free run, bro. This is One Piece. Let's just do one character. I am not convinced that we can build one character to beat Emu if we do our usual route of like, you know, picking a hockey, picking hockey, picking devil fruit and stuff like that. 2 characters are enough to beat Emu. Which 2? Because I'm just watching, I'm watching Loki get his ass beat right now. And I've got him really fucking high. Meek, thanks for the 10. Hey, been a minute. How'd you like 1181, and what's your number one expectation for 1182? Hybrid Loki or Gear 5 Luffy? So the tricky thing with Hybrid Loki is I feel like if we see it, he's going to lose, right? I feel like if we see it, I think he loses. And I feel like, sorry, I think next chapter Loki will lose. And I'm just like, would Oda have Loki lose in his first debut of his hybrid form? So if I think my generic prediction is basically, I think Oda has Loki go down and then Luffy swap into his place at some point over the course of next chapter. Yeah. I think that's what I would guess. Make 2 characters with the wheel? I don't know. Sugar plus Van Auger can beat Emu? I think that from what we've learned, Emu's hockey would be too high for that to work, right? Because Law can't even teleport people like Kaido and Big Mom. Yeah, Roger, Whitebeard, Rocks, Garp, Kaido, and Big Mom weren't enough. Yeah. I think that... Okay, here we go. All right. I think a 5-man band is good. Fire, tank, support, mage. What would be the last thing? Like, rogue? Let's do that. Fighter, tank, support, mage, and rogue. I think that works. Loki and then another Loki could beat Emu. Cool, so we would need to roll Loki twice, and he goes off the board after the first one. Blackbeard, I wonder if it's cheating. I do wonder if Blackbeard's cheating. I almost want to not include Blackbeard. Because it sucks the fun out of it, you know? It's kind of just like the game is almost entirely predicated on rolling Blackbeard. Because we've done this before a few times, you know? And it always comes down to, do we get Blackbeard or not? One Piece is the worst way to build a team around. Let's do some categorizing, all right? Categorizing, all right? fighter options. We're only going to do Admiral and up. Admiral level characters and up. All right? Morges just doesn't want Blackbeard to solo Emu. I think that it's just not fun if you put Blackbeard in there, personally. I think you need Blackbeard. It's just too reliant on him, right? So what we're going to do first is we're going to list all the options, and then we're going to do the wheel, okay? And we're going to put characters into categories, right? So we're going to list all the options, then we're going to do the wheel. No, because then the wheel... Should we just put everyone in the wheel and then see who fits? Who fits what? Or do we need to classify who falls into which category first? Blackbeard is only broken to have one character with 2 fruits. If it's just the guy himself, who cares? The Yami Yami no Mi, I think, is unfair in that it just theoretically turns off Emu's Devil Fruit. And then that's half the game, you know? Yeah, does Emu need Blackbeard to be able to lose? So that's the question we're trying to answer. That's why I want to remove Blackbeard, right? Can we just build a team straight up that can do it regardless? This is hard enough without RNG. Okay, let me put down characters that I think make sense for fighters, okay? Let's just go down the pirate route first. Rox, Roger. Is Garp a tank or... I think Garp... We're going to put Garp in tank. Rox, Roger, Shanks, Mihawk. This is the order of how far back I remember them, okay? Not strength. Shanks, Mihawk... Kainu. Wait. I guess we gotta put some more in. Rayleigh. Gabon. Shiki. We might lose right here if we pick these guys. Alright. Odin. Again, not ordered in strength, just as I'm remembering them. A Kainu. I'm gonna put a Kainu into tank. No, you know what? The Logias, I'm going to put them all in Mage. I'm going to put the Logias in Mage. Alright? Odin. Yeah, I like this. I'm going to put them all in Mage? I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to... Let's see. Okay? Tank. Harold. Whitebeard. Garp. I'm going to put a Kainu here. A Kaido. Sengoku. I'm going to put Loki. Put Luffy in fighter. Luffy. Yeah, I think I like this. All right. Support. No, let's do mage first. Let's do mage. Oh, wait, duh. Fucking Kaido, Big Mom. Kaido. I'm going to put Big Mom in mage. I'm going to put Big Mom in mage. Put Aokiji in mage. I'll put Kizaru in mage. I'll put... Dragon's weird because we really haven't seen anything from Dragon, right? Support. Fuck. Do we need to expand past the Admiral level to get in some characters here? I could put Fujitora in support. Let's get some Gorosei members in. Saturn. Warkiri. Yeah, let's get in Warkiri. Who else? Support, I'll put in Mars. Jupiter, I guess, goes in tank. Yeah, this makes sense. Okay, Rogue. I'm gonna go ahead and put Venus Juro and Rogue. Venus Juro. Who else do we have that makes sense here? Law and Marco should be allowed for support. Venus Juro's fighter. Maybe this system fundamentally doesn't work. What the fuck is Rogue supposed to be? I was just trying to make a party of 5, but I think that doesn't work. I think that doesn't work. Do we want to just say fuck the party system and just pick 5 characters to beat Emu and just roll the fucking thing? I can't lie, this is a scuff list. Yeah, let's just put them all into a wheel and roll. Right? Kid for tank. You want to just put it all into a wheel and roll? Shanks fits Rogue better than Fighter, given the speed. Maybe. Just do Fighter, tank, and support. Maybe that could work. Fighter, tank, and support. Yeah, okay, maybe that works. Fighter, tank, and support. Let's try that. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. I like that. I think that's better. I think that works okay. I think Green Bull would be a good support. I like this. I like this. Yeah, because Mage just doesn't really work in One Piece, does it? I kind of want to remove Dragon because we know nothing about what he can do. So I'm removing Dragon. I'm removing Dragon. Only characters who we have seen fight. Only characters who we've seen fight. Ragnar goes with Loki. Ragnar goes with Loki. Alright, let's see if we can do it with 3. One Piece is not built for a party system, lol. Yeah. Despite the crew idea, it's just not built for a party system. Alright, what is the... Wheel of Names. Wheel of Names. Okay. Alright, here we go. Let me write everyone down. Rocks, Roger, Shanks. Fuck, this doesn't work though with the wheel. This is simply not thought out enough. It doesn't work with the wheel. Right? It just does not work with the wheel. Because once I put everything into the wheel, then it's just like... Okay, you know what? Here's the game. Okay? 5 spins, but need 3 characters, right? So first we can roll for Fighter a few times. Yeah, how about that? No, 6 spins. How about 6 spins? Does that make sense? Make 3 wheels. We just have separate wheels per category. Yeah, but then it's just like, which one... Because I'm making a wheel for Fighter right now, right? But then it's like, we just roll for Fighter, see what we get. You know, roll for tank, see what we get, and then roll for support, see what we get, right? That's not fun. That's just 3 rolls. So there's no strategy to it. Meek6173, thanks for the 10. Unrelated to the stream topic, but related to Emu. I'd like to think Emu placed his black portals in each of the 20 Kingdoms castles, hidden so he can finish TP subordinates to them when Final War starts. Okay, what we're going to do, here's what we're going to do. All right, take a look at this. So I created a wheel just for the fighters. All right? So I created a wheel just for the fighters. And we get 6 rolls, okay? So we're going to roll this. We get 6 rolls total, okay? So we're going to do 1 roll, and then if we're happy, then cool. We move on. If we're not happy, we can roll again. Okay, so we get a couple redos, but we only get 6 rolls total. All right? We're not putting NL in. I don't think NL's Admiral tier. NL's got an Admiral level fruit easily, but I don't think he's Admiral tier on his own. All right, let's see. First roll for fighter. Oh, Mihawk. I'm cool with keeping that, right? I'm cool with keeping that. Are we good? We good with Mihawk? I'm keeping him. I'm good. You know? I think that's, yeah, I think that's good. No Shamrock. No characters we have not seen fight at all. Because then there's just no point. That's why I took GG, we already won. Good enough. All right, we got Mihawk. All right. All right. Fighter. We got Mihawk. Next, we got Tank. And we've still got 5 roles remaining. All right, ready? 5 roles remaining. Synesthesia888, thanks for the 2. You should collab with Rob from Shonen Showdown. Maybe, I don't know what that is. By the way, I think after this, we're just going to put everyone into a wheel and then do a few rolls and then see. But I also kind of want to do the build a character. I think build a character is good. Mihawk and Blackbeard would be enough. That's why I'm not putting in Blackbeard. I also don't know if Mihawk and Blackbeard would be enough, though. Because let's say Blackbeard turns off Imu's Yami Yami no Mi. Imu's Haki on its own, Luffy's describing it as like on a totally different level. So there's the argument that Imu could just beat Mihawk straight up. You know? Harold. I'm good with this. These are some good ass rolls. I'm keeping Harold. All right. We got Tank. We got Harold. I think we got, well, I don't know. I think they could all just lose as well. I'm changing my mind. After this, we're going to do the build a character. Build a character is what I'm more familiar with. Build a character is what I'm more familiar with. So we've got 4 roles now just to pick the best possible option for a Devil Fruit user as backup. Nope, let's re-roll. Let's re-roll. We're re-rolling. Do I have to... We've got 3 rolls left. 3 rolls. This is the 2017 Warriors. Nope, we're going to re-roll. We're going to re-roll. We can do better. We can do better. So now we got 2 rolls left. All right. Give me... Who do I want? I think I want Kizaru or Big Mom. Is it greedy to roll again? The thing is, like, I feel like other characters would be more... Aokiji is obviously very, very strong. He's very, very strong, but my only problem is that, like, freezing, I think, is just not going to be that effective in the grand scheme of things against Imu. I think I would either rather have Big Mom's, like, firepower. Big Mom has a lot of versatility. Like, she can do a lot of different things, you know? And then Kizaru has the speed. So if I need a character that's just fast to get in on Imu, I think he's the one character who I would be like, oh, I could rely on him to like, be better than Imu in terms of speed or something. And then Fujitora... Again, I think Gravity is just more versatile than Ice. I don't know if we're tempting fate here. Julian Criswell, thanks for the 5. What are your thoughts on Lilith's observation about energy being everywhere to buff Frankie being related to Imu's statement on power in 1181? So Lilith's observation about energy being everywhere is similar to what Vegapunk talked about in Egghead, about there being like an infinite energy source that's all around us. Imu's statement on power was talking about how, like, all humans have this power within us, which is, like, closer to what our original description of Haki was. So I don't know if those are the same things, but it's similar ideas being echoed. JP, thanks for being a member for 37 months. Big Mom homies to negate Imu's drums to lose aura. That'd be funny. Kizaru couldn't even get past Old Rayleigh. Yeah, missed Meek Super. I'm not going to lie, guys. I think we actually lose this. I think you need more than a combination of these 3 characters to beat Imu based on what we're seeing. Like, I don't know why these characters would be able to get past his Omen defense. Sorry, Meek, give me a second. Oh, Meek, unrelated stream topic, but related to Emu. I'd like to think that Emu placed his black portals in each of the 20 Kingdoms castles, hidden, so that he can teleport his subordinates to them when the final war starts. That would be sick. That's a really cool theory. That'd be a really cool theory. But he can freeze people. If Kuzan's ice doesn't work on Garp, then no one in hell it would work on. Yeah, essentially, I just don't think ice is going to be a factor at all here. So it's essentially just taking a dude with, very capable armament and observation hockey, I'm sure, but that's about it. I already read that. For some reason, I don't remember saying that. I don't think I read that already. Emu can use flames as well. Yeah. You know what? I think we lose this with this trio. I think we lose this with this trio. So I'm just going to re-roll again just for fun. I don't think it's actually that doable. Because we already saw that, even Rox, Roger, and stuff, they're not really close to Emu. You would have to imagine that Mihawk is, way, way, way stronger than the likes of Rox and Harold. Yeah, we got Fujitora, which I personally think is a better option here. I think Gravity is just more versatile than Ice. Not to say Fujitora is stronger than Aokiji, but I think in terms of a support character, I would rather Fujitora, because I just think the Ice is going to be a non-factor against Emu. So our team is this, which is a very strong team. I think it beats pretty much any other character. I actually don't know if it will beat Emu. Because I'm at the end of the day, we haven't seen anything get past Omen. So this might be a futile experiment to begin with. Diptio Treviso, thanks for the 5. If Blackbeard gets slander for Sulong Beppo, Sabo surviving Emu and Gorosei is worse. How the fuck did fucking Cobra prevent them when Emu equivalent gap? I never slander Blackbeard really for the Sulong stuff in any sort of serious way. My Blackbeard slander is always towards his actual fights and showings, which is Magellan, Whitebeard, Law. I think Law is the big one that I hold against him, because I'm just he ambushed Law with everybody. He knows Law's ability. Law doesn't have a good squad behind him compared to what Blackbeard was bringing to the table. And Blackbeard still took hits and struggled, it wasn't easy. He straight up admits it's not easy. Sabo is strong as fuck. No, Sabo is not strong as fuck. You can literally go back and look at the Gorosei and Emu chapters. Sabo attacks all the Gorosei, does not damage any of them. Sabo attacks Emu, does not damage him. He's not shown to be strong there. If anything, it's shown that he's very weak compared to those characters. I still am baffled that people actually use Sabo running away as an example. Blackbeard didn't know Law was awakened. I mean, Law didn't even know this fight was happening, dude. And being awakened or not wouldn't have made a difference, because the reason he got hit was because Law used Shamble, his basic abilities. And then he followed up with some awakening attacks and stuff, but he was going to get hit by something regardless. He didn't know the awakening but where does, hold on, it's what, 1062, right? Is it 1064? $1063. 1064? No, that's true. How does Law get behind him? Hold on. Let me look at the fight again. I still personally don't think that knowing about Awakening or not matters here, because it's just like that's part of the fight. But would Blackbeard have done better if he didn't know? That probably helps. I didn't hear that your powers could do that. You're right. That does make a difference. But at the same time, at the end of the day, he's shown to be not that much stronger than Law, right? Like, Shanks didn't know Kid had Awakening, and Shanks still one-shotted Kid. So it's not like there's a huge gap between Blackbeard and Law. I also want to see Blackbeard's quote after the fight was over, which I think was 1070. I don't know when the fight's over. Point being, Blackbeard has no good showings, you know? Kid didn't use his Awakening though against Shanks. Isn't his big final move part of his Awakening? Law is a way better Awakening than Kid. Yeah, but they're still around the same tier of character, right? They're still around the same tier of character, which means that Shanks is way stronger than Blackbeard, considering, like, if Shanks fought Law, it would go exactly the same way. All this is saying is that Blackbeard either would have brought more help if he knew about the Awakening or just outright avoided the fight Law. Yeah, that's kind of the point. Like, I just think at a certain point when the odds are so stacked for you, there's not really an excuse, right? Like, if Blackbeard is a character that is above Admirals and Yonko and stuff like that, then the fight would have just been over immediately, right? Damn Punk is an Awakened attack. If so, how does it even part of his Awakening power set? I don't know, but he only used it after the Awakening stuff. I think my only point is, like, with Blackbeard, if you just stack up his whole fight history, it's really bad, right? Like, it's exclusively bad. His best showing, like, I think his best feat is defeating Marco off screen, and then I guess defeating Law with difficulty, right? And I just don't think it's an excuse to be like, well, he didn't know Law's ability, because, again, Law didn't know that a huge ambush was coming in the first place. And even after that, it still seems like it was a fight for Blackbeard. So the fact that it took some difficulty for Blackbeard to defeat a character who's definitely not Admiral level tells you Blackbeard's not above Admirals, you know? There's just not really an argument for it. Blackbeard essentially, like, you can just compare Big Mom's showing against Law to Blackbeard showing against Law, and Big Mom's is just clearly better, you know? Law could not hit Big Mom, period, without Kid giving him an opening. Blackbeard defeat Whitebeard on screen now? I mean, now you're just rage baiting. You know, did Blackbeard defeat Whitebeard? Or did Blackbeard lose the fight and then all the Blackbeard pirates came in to save him? Law's Awakening is perfect for dealing with ambushes. But I'm saying at a certain point, like, what's the argument for Blackbeard? Like, there's just excuses, right? Lots of excuses for him. Like, we know all of his showings. The best fight that we know he won outright was against Marco. That's it. And for most other Yonko, that's not even, like, a notable, like, battle defeating a first mate, you know? The other one is against Law, and that was a struggle. And beyond that, we have him, like, shitting himself against a Seraphim. Obviously, it's not below Seraphim, but it's just, like, low-level stuff that would not be a deal to other stronger characters, you know? And then obviously, let's not even get into pre-timeskip, where it was, like, really bad shit. Blackbeard's not him yet. He will get there in the future, obviously. Yeah, that's the only point. It's like, he's not... I think Blackbeard is comfortably in the Admiral range. Until he shows Advanced Conquerors Hockey, he's not in the Yonko range, because that's the prerequisite. Let's do this. We're going to take everybody and put them in... So we're doing only Admiral level characters, all right? Only Admiral level characters. What we're going to do is we're going to put everybody in this list, and then we're going to make one mega character to defeat Emu. Okay? One mega character to defeat Emu. So all the Admiral level characters and up. And let's give the usual, what do you call? We're not doing a team, all right? We're not doing a team. What we're going to do is base purely on abilities. Hockey. Weapon? Do we do weapon? How do we normally do this? It's not just hockey, right? So conquerors, hockey, observation, hockey, speed. I'm going to give them 2 devil fruits, all right? They get 2 devil fruits. Devil fruit number 1, devil fruit number 2, durability, endurance, right? Durability, endurance, physical strength, physical body. Yeah, physical strength / body. Let's do that. And then we sometimes do swordsmanship, right? So do we want to do that? Swordsmanship or weapon skill? Weapon skill. So whatever the weapon may be. IQ. Yeah, let's do IQ. Battle IQ. That's good. Armament, I just view no point, because like once you're using Conqueror's Hockey, what difference does the armament make? You know? Like it's not even brought up in One Piece. Once characters are using Conquerors, it's just like, alright, well we're using that now. I think 2 devil fruits is fair. Yeah, I think 2 devil fruits is fair. Weapon plus weapon skill. So you get their weapon plus their weapon skill. Does that make sense? Armament still adds to attack, but it just doesn't even make sense. Like it's not even a thing that's mentioned in the story, you know? Once Luffy got Advanced Conqueror's Hockey, it was never even mentioned, like, okay, Luffy and Kaido's Conqueror's Hockey is even, but Kaido's armament is better, therefore he's winning this clash or that. Like, it's not even addressed after characters are using Conqueror's Hockey, you know? Luffy used both versus Kaido and it was noted. Yeah, I can understand it being noted, but I'm saying that it no longer seems to factor in. Like, there's no point in One Piece where we're, like, trying to measure whose armament is stronger after the Conquerors is established. You know what I mean? Like, does that make sense? If 2 characters are clashing nowadays, it's kind of just, okay, who has the better Conqueror's Hockey? Like, even when Luffy and Kaido are going at it, how much was it, like, when Luffy's losing a clash, how much is it Luffy having worse armament versus him having worse Conquerors? We just don't know, you know? I just don't think there's a point. We could throw it in, but then I'll just say, like, I would just say straight up hockey coding. I wouldn't even say Conquerors or armament. Endurance seems kind of pointless. It makes a difference because, like, endurance is when durability is how hard is it to damage you. Okay, so like for example, Warcury has shown crazy strong durability. Like you can't scratch the dude, right? Endurance is if you have been damaged, how much damage can you take? So Kaido's shown crazy high endurance. Does that make sense? There is a difference. Kaido also has really strong durability. Like it's really hard to damage him. but Workiri is harder to damage, right? So Workiri would have higher durability than Kaido. But in terms of endurance, Kaido has better endurance that's been displayed. Two different things. I kind of want to go as far as this. So in the past, we've done this thing which is restrictive, okay? We've done this thing which is restrictive, which is we separate the devil fruit from the user, okay? So for example, if we say speed, like let's say we did speed, right? It's non-devil fruit based speed. So for example, if we pulled Kizaru, it wouldn't be light speed Kizaru, it would just be however fast Kizaru normally is. I want to change that for this because it's more fun. And yeah, it's just more fun, okay? It's just more fun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this devil fruit number 2. So the new rules are this, okay? And I think just to beat Emu, it's necessary. Rules. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We get 10 rolls. Okay, so we get 1 extra roll. We get 10 rolls, so we get 1 mulligan. We get 10 rolls. Devil fruits are counted per category. Are accounted for the categories. Example, Kizaru for speed would include his devil fruit. Okay. But only for the category. Yeah. So his light fruit wouldn't, yeah. The only category that counts a full devil fruit is the devil fruit category. Does that make sense? Give them Mihawk's PR team, says JP. That's really funny. Okay, does that sound good? Do we want to give him two fruits? Or do you think that the new thing that I gave them is good enough? Weapon skill and hockey being separate means Morge is embracing Shanks fans. We can remove that. We can remove that. So Whitebeard's strength includes Gura Island shaking shit? Ooh, this is a good question. No, it's physical strength. Physical strength is just... No, it would if he was a Zoan. It would if he was a Zoan, but it doesn't here. 2 fruits. Yeah, let's do 2 fruits for fun. Devil fruit number 1. And I think Emu's powers are so broke that it's, like, hard to deal with. Because, like... I mean, on paper, Loki's already got close to top tier Conqueror's Haki, 2 of the strongest fruits in existence, top tier durability and endurance, top tier, the strongest body in One Piece, top tier weapon. Loki's already got most of this, and he's still losing pretty easily. So realistically, we need more. All right, ready? You guys ready? We get 10 rolls, 10 rolls. All right, here we go. Here we go, here we go. Rocks! Good shit. Doesn't really matter if we get Rocks or Roger. Good with either. Good with either. Rocks. Shit. Want to just put him for Conqueror's Haki? I'm going to put him for weapon plus weapon skill. Because we can still pull other comparable Conqueror's Haki use. Like... Yeah, right? Conqueror's Haki or yeah, we could put him for Conquer... The arrow switched to Roger, But the visual lied and said it rolled rocks. That's true. The arrow's on. I guess it's just how it's counting it. Maybe it's literally on the precipice. We got to go with what it says. Saves that for Mihawk. I don't know if we're getting Mihawk is the thing. Let's do rocks for hockey. That sounds good. We can do rocks for hockey. All right, rocks is off the list. Remove. Let's roll this again. I'm going to shuffle. Doesn't really matter, but why not? Ooh, okay. Gabon, not a bad pick, though. I think we can pick Gabon for observation hockey. I'm going to go Gabon observation hockey. I think he's also a smart dude. But I'm going to go Gabon observation hockey. Or I don't want to reroll. I'm fine with Gabon. He's got good future sight. I don't know if he's got the best future sight in the world or whatever, but he's got future sight, right? There's only so many future sight users. I think Gabon's a good pick. No need for a reroll. All right, so we still got our one mulligan. Oh, we could have done weapon. I didn't think about that. Kizaru. No. Our options are durability or weapon plus weapon skill. Or sorry, endurance or weapon plus weapon skill. Let's do a quick poll. Endurance. I mean, he's got to have really top tier weapon skill, right? Or skip. Make an armament category and put Odin in there? Okay, so we're not going to use our skip on Odin. Endurance was crazy. In One Piece, past a certain point, like, characters just have, like, insane levels of endurance, you know? Like, how do you compare Odin's boiling to Whitebeard at Marine 4, that sort of thing? Okay, you know what? There's a lot of characters with better endurance. Yeah. I don't know. It is hard to say. People want him for weapon plus weapon skill. The thing is, for both endurance and the weapon skill thing, there's other good characters we could pick. He did tank an attack from Roger. Yeah, he also spent 3 days facing the current of the seas. You know what? We're gonna go Odin for endurance. That helped tip me over. Forgot about that. The dude's had great endurance for a long time, be it the ocean, be it boiling or whatever. I don't think he's necessarily be number one, but his most famous iconic feat, like his most famous and iconic moment is an endurance moment. So I think it's okay. I'm going to go War... Oh, Kizaru! Kizaru for speed. That is a lifesaver. I think Kizaru for speed is genuinely huge. I'm going to be honest, because this is the speed category. I think that's the only category I would say where we definitely have an advantage over Emu. Right? That's the only one where I'm like, definitely nobody else is faster than Kizaru. Unless, do you guys think Emu can teleport, like, without the pentagrams? When he showed up in front of Sanji, I wasn't sure if that was a teleport or what. Bro died to a gunshot. We don't... Fuck. Might have fucked up. Well, we still got one reroll. Left. He's only that fast with his Devil Fruit? No. Yeah, for this one, we're counting the Devil Fruit editions, but only for the given category. So it's not like we have the Light Fruit, but we have the Light Fruit only for this category of speed. Shiki! I forgot I fucking put this dude in. Alright. Honestly, not a bad Devil Fruit. Shiki is a pretty powerful Devil Fruit. Just don't think it's going to do shit to Emu. I think this might have to be a skip. We could do weapon plus weapon skill, but I don't know how good he is. I'm gonna skip Shiki. I'm gonna give Shiki a skip, and hope we don't land on anyone else. Even if we land on a Gorosei though, then we get durability because they get the regen. So it's not bad. So I think most options here are better than Shiki. Oh, this is a good area. This is a good area. All right. We're gonna go Kaido for shit. Kaido durability or Devil Fruit? Kaido for durability or Devil Fruit? His Devil Fruit's very good. We're honestly not going to get too many better Devil Fruits than Kaido's. For the Gorosei, for the purposes of this, we're going to say the Gorosei's... Gorosei's transformations can count as Devil Fruits. His durability is unmatched in the series. No, I would much rather the regen characters for this, or someone like. So for durability is different. Kaido, I think if you combine the durability and he might have the best endurance, like just an overall tankiness, durability plus endurance. But if we're just picking one, like Warcury has more durability in this is like just how hard is it to inflict damage, right? So in this regard, Kaido's not, he's high, but he's not the highest, right? Even a standard Lunarian is more durable than Kaido, because Zoro's able to cut Kaido a bunch, but he couldn't cut King, right? Kaido's very durable, but cutting Kaido is not the hardest, like dealing damage to him is not the hardest thing in the world, right? It's the combination of his durability plus his endurance that makes him the biggest tank in One Piece. But durability, I would rather somebody with regen. He's still a really great choice for durability, don't get me wrong. But I think I would probably prefer someone with regen for durability. Regen might fit endurance better. I count them as different. Like, endurance to me is like you are actually like suffering through the damage. Durability to me is like how hard is it to deal damage, right? Regen, you could argue, well, they take damage, but then it just regenerates back. But then to me, that's not lasting damage. So it's not actually testing your endurance, you know? I think Kaido's Devil... We can do durability, but I think Kaido's Devil Fruit... No, I'm going to make an executive decision. I'm going to give us Kaido for Devil Fruit. Because I think that we can get someone with regen for durability. And in terms of Devil Fruits, straight up, like, Kaido's Zoan is really strong. And I think he's got a better Devil Fruit than everyone except maybe Whitebeard and Big Mom or Loki here. And I don't want... Shit. Loki. We could get Loki. No, but like, I don't think it's smart to gamble the whole thing on getting Loki, right? I don't think it's smart to gamble the whole thing on Loki. Kaido's Devil Fruit is really good. Like, it is truly a complete package. Like, it combines so much. There are better Devil Fruit options, though. But I think the only one... Like, one, we get 2 Devil Fruits, right? We get 2 Devil Fruits. And I think there's really only 2, maybe 3 fruits that you would argue are straight up better than Kaido's. Loki's is objectively better than Kaido's. Whitebeard, I think, is stronger than Kaido's. Whitebeard's is like a broken fruit, right? If we got Whitebeard, that'd be amazing. Loki, that's amazing, right? But those are the only 2 that I think are clearly better than Kaido's. Oh, no, Luffy, the Nika fruit. I fucking forgot. That's 3 fruits. You know what? No, but that's the thing. It's 2 slots, though. It's 2 slots, so you want to maximize the slots. So it's like, there are 3 fruits that are better than Kaido's. We want to get, like, at least... Like, what are the chances that we roll 2 out of those 3, you know? Loki's is only better if you're Loki's size, though. No, because even if you're normal size... 1, we get to pick the body, so we can hedge for that. But 2, keep in mind that Loki's fruit, no matter what, is supposed to be the largest dragon in the world, right? So no matter what, I think it's probably the strong... Like, I know size isn't everything, but even by scale, I think, like, Thorheim is better than... No, because Kaido's fruit has the dragon form. All right, fuck it, fine. Let's go Kaido. Let's go Kaido. Let's go Kaido for fruit. Let's go Kaido for fruit. I think durability-wise, we can pick up someone else. We're going to go Kaido for fruit. I love spinning this wheel. I see why gambling is such a problem for people. Green Bull! God damn it, man. All right. What have I done? What have I done? He's probably good with the sword, right? We're gonna go Green Bull for the sword. We can't really do anything else here. The sword's optional, so you don't need to use it, you know? We don't get the reroll. We already used the reroll on Shiki. Devil Fruit 2? I'm not using fucking flowers against Emu. Alright. Kainu. I'm going to take a Kainu for the second fruit. I'm going to take a Kainu for the second fruit. Take a Kainu for the second fruit. That should be a really strong combination. Because imagine if you've got the magma fruit and Kaido's giant magma form, right? Couldn't you do some sort of really interesting combination with that? I think that's actually really interesting. Like if you had both abilities. If you had magma powers inherently and access to a giant magma Susanoo, basically, what could you do? I think that's a great combination. Okay. Yeah, I'll take Big Mom for durability. Good stuff. You could argue that she's as or more durable than Kaido. Kaido showed better endurance, but that's a separate category. But in terms of just straight up like how hard is it to hurt them, you could argue Big Mom's a little bit better. It was very difficult to... No one damaged Big Mom on the roof. A lot of people damaged Kaido on the roof. Ah, shit. I hope Roger's got okay battle IQ. I think Roger does have good battle IQ. Because he's the one that figured out the key to defeat... Oh, shit. Actually, hold on. I forgot we have physical strength / body. Do we want Big Mom for physical strength / body? Yeah, sorry. We can do Big Mom for physical strength / body. My bad. And then with Roger, we can give him... I think Roger battle IQ is not bad. He figured out how to defeat Dami Reversi Rocks. All you need is Prime Roger. Big Mom has the best body in the entire wheel. Yeah, arguably. She was born with that being her like her thing. That's a really good rule. Okay, give us somebody with good... Yeah, there we go. Good durability. Good durability. Loki was basically as durable as Kaido, but from birth. Yeah, this is a strong character. This is a very strong character. I like this. Rox' Conqueror's Haki. We got Future Sight. We're faster than Emu. I don't know if we have better Conqueror's Haki than Emu. Because I think it's implied that Emu's Conqueror's Haki is like... I don't know. It's hard to say. But maybe it's comparable. Because Emu's Conqueror's Haki is pretty crazy, right? So let's say a Conqueror's Haki, that's a wash. We are probably faster than Emu. Emu's probably still got... Like, the Omen bullshit is probably still above what we've got here. Loki's durability is really crazy. We've got him beat in terms of like I think durability and endurance. I think we can take more damage, and Big Mom's physical body. I don't know. I think it's a toss up. I think it's a toss up. I think Kizaru's speed is like maybe the saving grace. This Frankenstein character still losing the Emu low diff. Honestly, very possibly. But I think I would look here. So I think we've got crazy strong offense with Kaido's dragon form and Akainu's added magma stuff. Like I think we've got a lot here, but then add in light speed. I think that's like to me that's the thing that we could make it very hard for Emu to keep up with or dodge. You know, it's a weaker Loki. No, because he can travel at light speed. I think that is the difference maker to me. I think the Kizaru speed is the swing factor. Because everything else, you are right, is arguably just a weaker Loki. If we're really looking at it all together, it's arguably just a weaker Loki. I think Loki's worse in probably observation hockey and maybe battle IQ, but everything else, yeah. But the speed is the swing factor, right? Speed. I think that's Green Bull is really holding us back. Not really, because you could just cross this off. You could literally pretend we don't have that, right? It's still a good fight, you know? It's just, like, however strong, you know, just apply Roxas Conqueror's coding to Green Bull's weapon or whatever. Yeah, we even got the weaker dragon fruit. Yeah. Loki is faster than Kizaru? I don't think so. I still think the speed, like, imagine Loki, but with his, imagine Loki a little bit weaker, but he's got light speed, like Kizaru's speed, and future sight. I think that is a challenge to the Emu. I'm going to hang my hat on Kizaru's speed being a swing factor. That is not being fully accounted for here. Okay, let's put it to vote. Do we win? Yes. No. Loki probably already has future sight though. Okay, well then just Kizaru's speed. Just come on. It's a big deal. It's light speed. Damn, everyone thinks no. Damn. The only reason Kizaru is in the top tier is because observation hockey exists, but since observation exists, this character still doesn't win. But we have observation hockey too, and we have the speed advantage, right? So that's got to count for something. Oh my god. All right. You know what? We tried. We tried our best. I mean, if we were to just straight up pick, so we just get to pick, right? If we were to just straight up pick, I would say Conqueror's hockey. I'm going to give us Shanks because he's been compared to Joy Boy. Observation hockey, I'm going to give us, we can't pick Shanks twice, right? So I'll give us, I think Gaban's not bad for observation hockey. He's shown pretty elaborate observation hockey, right? Oh, maybe Mihawk? No, Mihawk will go down here. Mihawk, durability, I'm going to go War Curie. Speed, I'm going to keep Kizaru. Devil Fruit number 1, I'm going to keep Loki. Devil Fruit number 2, Luffy. Endurance, I'll go Kaido. Physical strength / body, I think I'll go Loki. Oh no, you can't do Loki twice, right? So then we don't want, Harold. Because then you still get the scaling buff with that. Battle IQ, I'll go. I want to say Rayleigh for no real reason other than Rayleigh's kind of, that just feels like correct. Who's best for battle IQ? Is it Rayleigh? I want to say Rayleigh. The thing is, like, Rayleigh's really smart generally. Does that extend to battle IQ? I don't know. Who else? Who do we want here that might fit for battle IQ? Sengoku? I don't know if Sengoku's got good battle IQ. Morge always glazes War Curie. He has the strongest, like, in terms of just, because he's got, his skin is harder to damage than Kaido's, plus he has regeneration. So, like, he's the most durable character we've seen in One Piece, you know? Luffy is better battle IQ? We already picked Luffy for Devil Fruit number 2. Akainu for battle IQ? No, Akainu is maybe the worst battle IQ in the story. Imagine having, like, I think low-key, is there a Logia user with a more simplistic fighting style than Akainu? He has one move, which is Magma Punch. His only move is Magma Punch. Sometimes he'll turn his fist into like a dog or claw type thing. That's it. That's all the dude does. It's pretty much just that. Whitebeard for battle IQ? I don't know if Whitebeard is good battle IQ. Like, there's a difference between strategy, like Sengoku and Whitebeard, versus like on the spot thinking. I don't think One Piece really shows that off for a lot of characters. I don't want to say really. But I don't know why. I don't think there's a convincing reason in my head. Big Mom, Kaido, Mercury. Law's not Admiral level, so we can't include him. Garp. I'm going to fucking put Roger. I think Roger is fine. Roger figured out the Dami Reversey stuff. I think Roger is fine for battle IQ. Charlotte Katakuri, thanks for the 5. This may be off topic, but Dorian Brogy compared Joy Boy's hockey to Shanks, so perhaps that's the answer as to how he defeated Loki. Look, that's always going to be a possibility. It's just right now Loki sets such a high bar that, I entirely think it's possible. Like, Shanks is Oda's self-insert and all of that stuff. I entirely think it's possible that Shanks just is that strong. I'm just not going to go there because the bar seems so high. I'm not going to go there until it's confirmed, okay? So for the moment, I've said this many times. I put a few characters right now into undetermined territory. Shanks, Mihawk, Dragon. Putting them into unclassified territory till Oda gives us sheds some more light. It's possible he wants all of them to be stronger than the old gen. Entirely possible, right? But I'm not going to go there till we see some evidence, okay? And then I'm giving Akainu. Akainu has 2 routes. Either he's as strong as he was pre-time skip, which means he's like 0.1% stronger than Aokiji. He's essentially equal to Aokiji, right? Or Akainu got a hockey bloom or something, in which case he can be in unknown territory as well, right? And then finally Shamrock. So those are my 5. Like, I generally don't scale them, you know? Fujitora for battle IQ? Maybe. I just think that there's a difference between, like, which characters have actually shown themselves being smart in battle. Because characters like Fujitora, Sengoku, you know, Whitebeard, like, they've shown strategy in terms of, like, broader big picture strategy. But then, like, smart in the moment IQ, like, battle, like, just straight up in action, right? Luffy's shown that, but we can't use Luffy. Roger's technically shown that, I think, in the Dami Reversey fight. So I'm kind of going with that. Other characters that I might think of, like Shanks or Mihawk, are already taken in more important spots. I think Kaido is good battle IQ, but again, he's taken in a spot. So that's the tricky thing with battle IQ here. Garp was literally having a school lesson for Marines during the Hachinosu raid. Yeah, but I think side by side with Roger seemed to be the smarter one. So I just put Roger before. Tiptia says, I've been thinking Shanks above Roger since the SBS about him learning Divine Departure post-kid fight. Yeah, it's possible. He utilizes Kobe, Helmeppo, and Prince Gru's strengths to help against Avalo Pizarro. So that's good, because that means that Garp has good battle IQ, and Roger was shown to have better battle IQ than Garp, so that makes Roger a pretty good pick. All right, we're going to roll with this. I think this all is good. Here. All right, I think, does this character win? Does our new character win if we just get to pick everything? Does our new character win? I'm crying. My man said Roger battle IQ upskill. That's kind of how I viewed it. I was like, okay, thanks for making all those points for Garp. That puts Roger even higher. They have a decent shot. Yeah, I think it comes down to interpretation of, like, how strong do you think Shanks' hockey is? If it's Joy Boy level, then we got a great shot, right? But if not, then, you know, if that was just exaggeration or the Giants just not knowing shit, then that's its own thing, right? How well do you think Luffy's fruit counters Emu potentially? You know, there's a lot of 50-50. Yeah, I think there's a lot of question marks here. I still maintain Kizaru's speed is an underrated factor here because no other characters are that fast, you know? I think that that's a big swing factor. But that's just me. Can this character even beat Loki? Yes, they can beat Loki. It's Loki plus Luffy's fruit plus... shit. Oh, no. It's a top... No, it's the speed. I'm going to maintain the speed. Like, Gabon, Future Sight plus Loki's Kizaru's speed. This character does beat Loki, okay? It's at least evenish with Loki in most categories. I think the Nika fruit overall is better than Ragnar. This character beats Loki, all right? Joyboy SGLS, thanks for being a Pirate King to your member for 24 months, man. Yo, more. It's super late to the stream, so you already probably discussed it, but have you seen the Kagurabachi anime announcement? I'm so hyped, it feels surreal as a longtime fan. So I saw the Kagurabachi announcement. I am really excited for it, but at the same time, deeply, like, how do I explain? It feels really, like, I'm excited, but in a sort of bittersweet sort of way, because just the time frame. The time frame is just, first of all, I think Kagurabachi is, like, topping sale. Like, I think it's doing really well sales-wise in Japan. For those of you who don't know, Kagurabachi is now, it's well past the time of memes, right? Kagurabachi is, early stuff, it is, like, kind of generic and not good, and I didn't like it. As it progresses, 100-something chapters in, 110-ish chapters in probably now, it is a phenomenal shonen, really well planned, great plot, like riveting plot once it really gets going. Like, absolutely, he knows how to keep upping the stakes and suspense and twists and just making everything click and sort of build together really fast, but just very efficiently and in a way that's really engaging and dramatic. Riveting plot, phenomenal fights and action choreography, the type where I genuinely am like, I don't know how they're gonna fucking animate some of this stuff. When I saw the announcement today, I did go back and skim like the latest big fight of Kagurabachi. Or like one of the big climaxes to, I don't want to say anything. I just don't know how they're gonna pull this off in the anime. It's just it's mind blowing what he put to, like, visually what he's putting to paper is, it's really hard to replicate and do justice to anime wise. And characters, you will grow to like some of the core characters. Main character, very good, and then there's some phenomenal side characters, very promising villains, stuff like that, okay? So, all that being said for Kagurabachi, it was bittersweet because it's going to be some time before the anime itself comes out, and the stuff that I wanted to adapt is just, I think I'm just a little burnt by, like, how long it takes anime to come out nowadays. I think one thing that kind of broke me mentally recently was, like, Jujutsu Kaisen, we waited so long after the Shibuya incident for Season 3, right? So Season 2 to Season 3, the gap was huge. And then, like, a lot of waiting, and then finally Season 3 came out. And then at first it was like, it's going to be Season 3, and it's broken up into cores. So it was like, okay, so we don't even get all of Season 3 in one go. It's going to be, like, 13 episodes, 12 episodes or whatever, and then a break, and then maybe in summer or fall we'll get the next batch. But it was like, okay, that's fine. And then we find out it's not even cores anymore. It's just going to be a whole other season. So we got to wait at least another year. Chainsaw Man, the gap between Season 1 to Season 2 is, like, crazy long. Even Season 1 of the movie, crazy long. Demon Slayer, now we're stuck waiting, like, what, a year, 2 years between... Like, I don't know when Infinity Castle Part 2 is coming out. Like, we've hit a point where anime is just now... The quality is so great. But it's at what cost? It's like, the gaps between seasons are so fucking big now. It's just genuinely... It's hard for me to maintain excitement for these series. So that's how I feel right now with Kagurabachi, which is just that... Whatever Season 1 covers... I'm sure it'll be really cool, but it's also just like... The time frame of it, I'm sure is going to take fucking forever. And it's going to be not till, I wouldn't be surprised, 2030 before I get to see the fight animated that I want to see. And that fight's only like 100-ish chapters in. So that's kind of the state we've reached with anime, which is just the quality. I don't even know what I'm complaining about here. It's just there's nothing to fix, right? Like, it's good. You get good quality. I guess I'm in the phase where I'm trying to gauge, like, what is the gaps that I'm comfortable with for a certain amount of quality? Does that make sense? And it's like, well, good quality, it's better to just wait for a good product, like a good finished product. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, but there's some limit, right? Like, if you have to wait 50 years for one episode, this is obviously an extreme hypothetical, and that episode is done beautifully, perfectly, you would still agree that's not worth it, right? That's an extreme hypothetical, but I'm just like, okay, but then what is the actual ratio? Because to me, the Jujutsu Kaisen thing was kind of like a line in the sand for me because it was just like the wait was so long from season 2 to season 3. And then they strung us along a little bit with like season 3, it's already really long wait and it's going to be in 2 cores. So it's like 2 cores. Okay, whatever. And then it's like we lied. It's not even 2 cores. You get half a core, or like you get the first core, and we're gonna call that a season. And now just wait for season 4. And it's like, I get you guys really have to put a lot of time into the animation, but I'm like, I would almost take a step back, lower level animation quality to get certain. Like I'm like, am I at a point where mentally I would rather the quality go down a little bit for the speed, because momentum and just engagement with the material matters too, you know? Like, I liked what came out of the culling games here, but I think I'm experiencing right now, now that the gap has sort of taken place after this culling games finishing out, part 1, I am less excited for the next part, culling games part 2, to come out, because it already feels like a little bit drawn out. It feels like we didn't cover that much ground, right? Compared to after Shibuya incident ended. After season 2 ended, I was just like, I really want to see what happens next. Really, really excited for it. What they put out here, really good. But it's just like, it's too short, doesn't cover enough for me to still feel like deeply invested in Jujutsu Kaisen for now another year-long gap or something for another short batch of episodes. Does that make sense? So it's kind of a general... better than another One Punch Man catastrophe. That's not the same. That's not a good comparison at all, because One Punch Man was both. One Punch Man was, they took forever. They took a crazy amount of time between season 1 and season 2, and subsequently between season 2 and season 3, and they didn't up the animation quality, you know? Oh, my great meal is going to take a good while to be cooked. Get some patience. But it does actually matter at a point, right? Like, at a point, what if we're waiting 10 years between anime seasons? There is a point where there is something to be said about just continuity of the experience, you know? To me, it's pushing that, you know? Like, there's a limit to everything, you know? Virgil Hawkins says, I think it's worth the wait. I think there's limits to how much something is worth the wait. I think, the Jujutsu Kaisen season, to me, is pushing it. Just because at a certain point, if the gaps are that big, I lose investment in the story. That's all. Maybe that's not the case for everybody else, but to me it is, like, I think anime is reaching a point where that is pushing it. For myself, at the very least. Brother Morge, you're literally a One Piece fan? I mean, I think One Piece was the opposite, right? I advocated for so long for One Piece to go seasonal, right? Like, I said that dragging it out and trying to keep this weekly release is bad for it, right? So One Piece was all the way on the other end of the spectrum, which is just like, get it out, like, immediately, new episode every single week, and it's ass, right? Terribly paced. Once in a blue moon, you get a quality episode, but generally it's bad, right? To me, I think we are starting to stray into... I think this is pushing it. I think the 2 to 3 years gaps between seasons is now pushing it. I think, and I'm worried that the direction is going further and further in that direction, right? So I think 2 years, 3 years, like... I don't think there should be 3-year gaps between anime seasons, personally. I don't think there should be 3-year gaps. I think, especially not if it's like a 3-year gap to just get out like 12 episodes. But I can deal with that. Fine, 3-year gaps, whatever, right? I think further, once you're getting to 4 or 5-year gaps, which is kind of the direction that I feel like things are headed. I mean, it kind of already happened for Chainsaw Man, right? Once you're getting to 4 to 5-year gaps between anime seasons, it's just like, I think there's a better chance that I lose interest in the series than what I get out of it coming out at that point, you know? Like, I think everyone would agree that there is a point, right? There has to be some point. I think everybody loves the quality that's coming out right now. My question is just, okay, what is the point, right? Like, where is the line that kind of comes up where it's like, okay, I loved my, new season of whatever it may be, of let's say Jujutsu Kaisen, we're not going to get the final season for 10 years, right? I think most people would agree that 10 years is very long to get the next season or something, right? I don't know. Steel Ball Run took fucking 20 years? No, when did part 6 come out? JWP, thanks for gifting 5 memberships. Really appreciate it, man. Everybody shouts in the chat for JWP. As usual, coming through. As usual, coming through, supporting chat with lots of memberships. Yeah, just everyone shouts in the chat to JWP. Everybody, we all obviously really appreciate you, man. JoJo's is also a very poor example because it's an anthology. So it's not like there's a continuing plot that you're waiting on the next season to pick up from, you know? It doesn't really matter with JoJo's, especially with Part 7, because it's, I guess, mild spoilers. It's a complete reboot, you know? So that's not really one-to-one. But, yeah, to me, it's just like, where is the line? To me, the line is... I think whatever Jujutsu Kaisen's doing right now, to me, is towing the line. It's towing the line. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I just don't know. My line is like 7 years, so I'm fine with it. I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of with Kagurabachi right now, which is like excited that it's coming. I saw how good it looked, and I'm just like, it may as well be an announcement for nothing, because it's like the thing that I want to see is so far away based on this quality of animation. So I'm like, okay, this basically signifies to me that maybe in 5 years I will get to see the thing that I'm excited for, which is bittersweet, you know? I'm excited it's getting started, though. Definitely excited it's getting started. Kakashi Snitch 9, thanks to 2. Morge, what are your thoughts on Frieren? Frieren, I watched. I enjoyed it quite a bit. It was very peaceful and soothing. When I watched halfway through season 1. Very peaceful, soothing, relaxing, visually beautiful, very atmospheric. I like the idea, of course, the premise. I think I dropped off after what I found. I dropped off just because I was disappointed by one particular. No, you know what? It was, I kind of just took a break. But I initially had it in very high regard. Then it got to this like terrible episode, which was like, the episode was, I guess mild spoilers or whatever. The episode was like a 20-minute long build-up to basically just a reveal of my power level is higher than yours, which I was just like, seriously? Like, I thought this series was much above it, like above that sort of thing. Like, it's cool to do a my power level is higher than yours sort of reveal. Like, that's always kind of exciting. But this was, like, by far the most dragged out version of it I'd ever seen. And then the thing is that, like, it suddenly made me lose some respect for the depth of the series, because they tried to spin it as something very deep in that, like, in Frieren, demons lie. They all lie, all right? This is, like, a big deal. All the demons lie, all right? All demons lie. So mages came up with a way to lie too. Get this. Mages hide their power levels. All right? Very simple premise, right? There'd be like 2-minute scene to establish this. No. They spent like, honestly, more than an episode. It was like, because setting up the fight to the payoff, it was like an episode and a half of just like building up this very basic ABC concept, which is just like, establishing demons lie, blah, 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 and then making this mind-blowing notion, like we didn't all watch Dragon Ball Z 20 years ago, that like, okay, mages can hide their power levels, and that's like a huge deal here, and it's supposed to be like some, like, it's just a 20-minute long episode of just like, okay, we get it, we already know the point, we know exactly what this is leading to, it's the most basic thing ever, and then it ends with Frieren revealing, my power level is higher than yours, and then the villain kills herself, literally. That's literally what happens, okay? So after that, I was just like, okay, I thought that was kind of lame for a series that up to this point has been much more nuanced and interesting, than you would expect for a standard anime, right? So I was like, okay, that's whatever. And then the next episode, but that wasn't going to make me drop the series. I didn't drop the series for that. It was literally just like that. That was a episode that kind of made like the pedestal that I was, or like the shine that I viewed the series as, kind of like dull a little bit. So I was kind of like, okay, well, I'll keep watching. But that was pretty disappointing. Kind of confused why people glaze this series so much now. I liked the previous episodes quite a bit, but that kind of threw me off. I was like, that was fucking dumb. Does nobody else think this was really, really dumb? But I was like, whatever, move on. So it just made me lose my interest a little bit. And then I think the next episode or two were a bit slower, but I also had more stuff going on at that point in time. So I was like, let me take a little break. Took a little break, didn't get back to it. I still think I imagine Frieren is very good. I know people say great things about Frieren, and I can see it's very carefully made, artsy, more artsy style anime. And I very much enjoyed it. Like, it was a great viewing experience early on. I think that power level episode really threw me because I was like, isn't this like shockingly dumb? Like, if a different like, let's say solo leveling. If solo leveling did this, people would meme this shit to death. That Jinwoo spent like fucking 25 minutes building to a reveal that he'd hidden his power level or something. I'm like, this is maybe one of the dumbest things I've seen in an anime, but it was in Frieren, so I was like, well, this was fucking stupid. Also, the fact that they made a big deal that demons lie a lot is stupid. It's like, okay, cool, just establish. That's not like very unique. That's just say that. So I was like, okay, that threw me, made me lose my interest slightly. I'm sure that it continues on to be really good, and I'm sure there's other really great stuff that it has, and that's not indicative of all the good writing that comes later. But I'm just telling you where I kind of slowed down on the Frieren train, and then I kind of dropped it slightly after. I'm sure it's still good, just haven't picked it back up. JWP, thanks for the 5. Blackbeard doesn't need Emu's fruit to be final villain. If he just takes Ragnar, he'll be top 1, lol. Yeah, it's a good thing Ragnar's on the good guy's side. I don't hate Frieren. I guess I'm just commenting on, like, I was just shocked by that episode in particular, because I was like, I was into the series, and I was very much enjoying it, and I was like, I see why people say this is good, why people really like this. I was really enjoying it a lot, honestly. And then I just got to this episode, and I was like, this was a mind-blowingly dumb episode for anime. I was like, this is like the most overused concept ever, but it does it worse somehow than Dragon Ball Z did, like, God knows how many years ago. So I was just like, wait, why aren't people roasting Frieren for this dumbass scene or this dumbass episode? But people seem to like that episode. I was just like, okay, so do people just like stupid shit because it's got Frieren's name on it and it's doing it in a more artsy way? Because I was like, this is just dumb. So that threw me. But I don't know if that's an anomaly or what. To Pio, thanks for the 2. More to the email I sent is all you have to sustain. I don't know what that... Okay, I'll check that out later. Probably going to wrap stream in a second. Mr. Saturn Lo-Fi, thanks for 2. Have you seen Wrecked starring Zach Kreger? Oh, is it like by the Widest Kids You Know group? I've not seen that. I've heard that they did it. Was Trevor Moore... Oh, is it a sitcom? Is it a sitcom? Shit, I'll check this out. I thought it was a movie for some reason. I know Widest Kids You Know worked on a movie that they tried to get out, or they did get out or something like that. I might be forgetting. Not Miss March. Mind-blowingly dumb is crazy. I mean, maybe not mind-blowingly dumb, but I was just like, if they put this in any other anime, people would be roasting this. But because it's Frieren, I feel like people are thinking it's cool, which I didn't understand. Okay. All right, everybody. Frieren treats demons are evil actually as a subversion, the same way the boys treats demagogues are bad actually as a subversion. But how's it a subversion? Isn't demons being bad just simple? Or just say I don't get it? Say what? About the Freerin thing? Alright. Is Gaimon on the team yet? No. Alright, everybody. It depends on the context. Oh, I'm saying it's not a subversion. Both stories are just cynical as fuck, trying to pretend they have a deep message. I don't think there's anything wrong with having demons be bad. That's fine. That's, like, straightforward, you know? I enjoy plenty of stories where there's just bad guy, like a bad race, demons or whatever. That's fine. Fantasy stuff, you know? It doesn't really matter. But the making a big deal out of, like, power level hiding to lie, I think is stupid. All right, everybody. Nah, most stories have demons being complex and not all of them being bad. I guess that's more of a recent thing, but I think that's later on, right? Like, the further back you go in storytelling, in just general literature, right? Further back you go in storytelling, it's more common to just have straightforward, like, good, evil, demon, orc, whatever the fuck you want, right? Isn't that just straightforward? That's what it was for a long time. Like, it's not subversion if it's just going back to what things were. All right, everybody. Good stuff. Yeah, that's like the opposite of subversion. It's just going back to basics. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. And by the way, I don't have a problem with that. I just didn't think that, like that's totally fine. I'm just confused why the power level thing was made to be a big deal, because I'm just like, well, this is stupid. Or why they made a big deal out of, like, demons just lie or whatever. I'm like, this is just, you can just tell us that. It doesn't have to be a whole thing. Yeah, bad guys being bad is fine. I'm just saying that Freerin treats it like a big thought-provoking twist or something. Oh, yeah. That's what I'm saying. I guess that's what I'm saying, which is, like, why'd they spend so much time on that when you can just establish that? It's not mind-blowing. It's just basics, right? Just saying, like, hey, we've got a basic version of evil here. We just got demons. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it, right? That's all you need. And then why spend so much time on the power, like, hiding the power level thing as some sort of big twist? Chinho Wong, thanks for being a member for 37 months. I wish One Piece live action never had seasons shoot till Marine Ford. Never had seasons just shoot till Marine Ford. I mean, I'm happy that the next one is coming out next year, for sure. Saint King J, thanks a lot. The support team should have had Chopper, as he can reverse Dami Reversi. Getting Chopper to touch Dami Reversi to Mihawk is easier than killing him. So I have a little theory on what works for Dami Reversi or not, based on the official translation, but I will save that for another video. All right, everybody.